time to love some more. Cincinnati show, it's time to play. Sports with strawberry ice today. 5:30 sharp, don't be late. CTV, the sports to wait. Strawberry ices on the mic, energy, it's pure delight. Every touchdown, every goal. Feel the pulse, it's in your soul. Cincinnati heartbeats strong. Strawberry ice will lead the throng. Every touchdown, every goal. Feel the pulse, it's in your soul. Cincinnati heartbeats strong. Strawberry ice will lead the throng. Feel the crowd, it's electric now. Shouting loud, they all know how. The CTV got what we crave. Sports with ice, it's waves and waves. Tigers strike and Bengals roar. Every game we want some more. Tune it in and feel the thrill. Strawberry ice keeps giving chills. 5:30 sharp, don't be late. CTV, the sports await. Strawberry ices on the mic, energy, it's pure delight.
Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome to the show. This is Sports with Strawberry Ice, live at the Moerlein Lager House. Happy Election Day. I hope you guys all did your civic duty. We got some great news today. We'll get to that here in a minute. But
You said duty.
I did say duty. But if you have not had a chance to get down here, we're down here live every Tuesday at the Moerlein Lager House from 6 to 8. Happy hour starts at 3, goes to 9. What does that mean? It means $5 drafts, house wines, and well drinks. And it's also Prime Rib Tuesday here at the Moerlein Lager House, $29.95 for a delicious prime rib. So come on down. And during each and every Bengals home game, we got a tailgate here. It's called the Mercedes-Benz of Fort Mitchell at Moerlein Lager House, the pregame experience. It is 3 hours before every single Bengals home game. It is the best deal on the banks. Two of the greatest words in the English language, open bar. I love open bar, along with a delicious food spread. Only $75. That's the best deal on the banks. The Moerlein Lager House, all their social media platforms to get tickets. That'd be awesome. What's up to everybody in the chat? Let's see who we got in there first. We're scroll up here. We got Brad in there first. Paul's in there. Brad and Tony Blaze in there again. Chiefs Kingdom. What's up? Robert's in there. Lawrence, Tony Blaze. That's everybody. Anyway, let's get to my co-host for the evening. Some people know him as Joe. Some people call him Joe Schmo. Some people call him the bald guy, but I don't know. He looks a little less bald now. What do you got going on here?
Some people call me the Space Cowboy.
Some people call him Space Cowboy.
Some people call me Maurice. Because I speak on the Pompatusa of love.
You do?
I don't know. What the hell is Pompatusa?
Yeah,
It's not a real word.
Did you turn the mic on?
It is on.
Yeah, okay. You
Shut
hear him?
up.
All right. Yeah. I'm on the same line. You should be able to hear.
I don't know. People in Facebook land and YouTube land can hear me.
Yeah,
I'm good. I've got a belly full of Reuben and Parmesan fries. So.
Hey, yeah, he's ready to go. All right, so we have a trade to talk about with the Bengals. But before we get to that, I want to talk still Bearcats here with my boy Neil Meyer here. What is up?
What is going on, guys?
We had the first Bearcat basketball game, official basketball game last night, and they looked pretty darn good to me.
Yeah, in Arkansas, Pine Bluff looked like the worst Division I basketball team in in college basketball. And I mean, they entered the season 350th out of 365 in Ken Palm. So overall, it kind of fit the description last night with the Bearcats' 55-point victory. But overall, Bearcats basketball is back.
Bearcat basketball is back. Like me and Joe and you were talking before the game or for the show here, they look 10 deep. I mean, they look. I mean, you me talk, and I think this is a Sweet 16 season at worst. It could be even more than that. Yeah, Joe, what's your thoughts on it? I'll go with you first.
Yeah, I mean, I projected them to go to the Elite Eight. I'm being optimistic, I guess. which
You
is rare for me. I know.
optimistic? What the hell?
I mean, they had 10 guys play 13 minutes or more last night, and this isn't like guys that are just into. There's no like energy guy like Justin Jackson that can't shoot or dribble. Like these are
Right.
guys that actually have some sort of offensive skill set. That, they can put the ball on the court, or at least rim runners. Keep Dylan Mitchell in front of the 3-point line, please. I know Wes said that he wants him to keep shooting and wants him to develop that game. Do that in practice. He looks bad. He is bad from behind the line, but.
Yeah, we couldn't. It was a typical Bearcat non-free throwing shooting team, but it was awful
throws
last
were
night.
bad.
That was
were-
terrible.
They were 1 for 9. At
Yeah.
one
1 for 9 to start.
Yeah,
Wes
they were,
Miller, Wes Miller was not happy with it after. the game.
They were shooting like 45 behind the 3-point line, over 50%, and then
They finished
11% at one
They were
point.
finishing the night 59%, 63, and then 54 from the line. But at one point, it was like 14% from the free throw line.
Yeah, they were 12-24 from 3 for the entire game. I'll take that every single game. I don't
Yeah.
think you're going to get that, but when no one's playing D against you and you're shooting wide open shots,
But they were making them. That's the thing. It's like that's what I did like. And I was telling you this before the show started. The only thing I don't want and I have no idea how this team's going to be, but just compared to last year where they would fall in love with a 3-point shot and it would not go in sometimes, and they kept shooting them. Looks like they have an inside game that they can go to this year that's more consistent than last year.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you look down, Dylan Mitchell and Arrington Page alongside Aziz Bandego in the front group. In the front court, those are 3 guys who can really score there in the offensive end. Obviously, Arrington Page, I thought, looked fantastic last night, finished with 9 points. I believe he had 3 rebounds. But overall, to see him put the ball down on the floor and then turn around and give you the offensive threat there in the paint was something Cincinnati needed. They lacked it last season between guys like Odi Aguama, Victor Lockett, Jamil Reynolds last season. They didn't have that guy who could go put the ball down on the floor and go get you a bucket.
Check. Try this one.
When they can go get a bucket when they need to. But overall, to see that happen and Cincinnati be able to go in there and find ways to score inside, it's fantastic. I think they had 28 of their first 36 from in the paint. So anytime you get that easy of looks at the rim, you can
Right.
take advantage of it. So overall, it was a big night for Cincinnati, but I think right now, heading into Morehead State on Friday night, you can't really be too complacent following a 55-point blowout.
Okay, everybody keeps saying on here something wrong with the mics. I have no idea. I've turned it up, turned it down. I'm not sure what they keep saying we're having. Stay tuned. We're having technical difficulties. Paul says, like, sounds good to hear to me, and it sounds okay.
we're working on it. Damn it!
So I don't know. Hopefully, get better.
We'll sign language.
Huh? Yeah, it sounds fine to me.
Check.
Wow.
It says not a word.
Yeah, I don't know.
Just read our lips, okay? I'm in nice, bright. See,
Yeah, producer says she hears us. I mean, maybe y'all are just
Do
deaf.
you guys have mute on? Turn your volumes
Right.
up. You guys have that option
Says
as well.
low volume had to max volume out to here. Okay, well, it's really loud in here.
Yeah.
I can hear myself plenty loud in here, and I've got it turned up. I turned up any more. Well, that's what they're watching. T. Brookies watches on YouTube. She says it's not loud enough. I don't know. Hopefully it'll get better. We'll keep messing with it. But get back to the Bearcats. The team in general looked like it got me excited. We had a win last night like we used to have back, and I know you're too young to remember this, but the 90s when Bob Huggins was here and we go out and blow people out. That's what we did. That's all the right one. Turn that up. Turn me up.
Yeah, but going back to the 90s, the style of play from the 90s, I mean, you look down, Wes Miller talked about it last night with how Fifth Third Arena would go nuts
Yes.
for a dunk. But then when you see you're up 40, you see Aziz Bandego hit the floor. Arrington Page hit the floor. Dan Skilling hits the floor. Jizzle James gets a dunk out of it. Overall, to see guys hitting the floor with the effort that they played with last night was fantastic. But talking about the Bearcats, I thought Jizzle James was fantastic
Yes.
last night.
Jizzle
12
James,
points,
yeah.
10 rebounds, 7 assists, a near triple-double. But on top of the 10 assists,
10 assists every match.
on top of the 10 assists, you have 1 turnover
Yeah.
for a guy who is only in his sophomore season and was looking to facilitate the offense more. I thought that was fantastic of how he played last night in his first game as the starting point guard.
Yeah, and I didn't realize I asked you having a day. When do you think he might be back and work his way back into this?
Realistically, if you're Cincinnati, you play it safe with Day-Day Thomas. Obviously, you're coming back with the injury that he had. Suffered the broken foot there versus San Francisco in the NIT last year. Required off-season surgery. He went through off-season workouts after being cleared in June. He suffered a small setback 2 weeks ago, right before the trip to Big 12 Media Days in Kansas City. They said he could have played last night, but overall, in a game like
They
that,
didn't need him.
And realistically, there's a good chance where you don't want to rush him back because these first 3 games, are you really going to need him with Morehead State and Nichols coming up in the next 2 games?
Yeah.
Get him healthy before going into NKU, especially with what happened at NKU last year or last time they were over there.
Yeah.
I think this is more of the revenge game for NKU, but overall, you don't want this injury to be something they deal with all season long and linger.
They dealt with that with Frederick last year.
Yes.
Especially with the Big 12 going from 18 to 20 conference games. Like, there is no bye week come conference play. So, overall, this is something you don't want Day-Day Thomas to be dealing with throughout a stretch of conference play where you're going to be playing a top 25 team every other night, it feels like.
Exactly. And with the depth of this team, you can absorb the injury. And is there a chance that he just might sit out the whole year and just make sure he heals up, or you think he'll take a chance to come back like January or something like that?
I think he'll be back by the end of November.
End of November?
I would even say mid-November. I think we see him back for the NKU game at least, but right now, I wouldn't even be surprised to count him out on Friday night. Like, he's going through practices and everything. It's just kind of light in what they're trying to really kind of contain him to do. But overall, he's practicing every day. It's not like they completely shut him down from basketball activities. But overall, I think we see him back sooner rather than later, especially heading into the NKU game. I think it just makes sense to give him the time to really heal up over the next 2 weeks before you get into NKU. But you never know with injuries. I feel like nowadays, especially with the medical staff and all the rehab and stuff behind the scenes, but we could see Day-Day Thomas probably Friday night. We could see the staff be super precautious and hold him out for a little bit longer, but it's something that it's just kind of a day-by-day situation, as Wes Miller said.
Yeah, it would be nice to see him against when they play Villanova, but I'd much rather see him when they play Kansas State for the Big 12 lid lifter. So take all the time you need to get ready. I didn't really pay too much attention. I know Jizzle played 27 or 26 minutes. Who's the lead guard when he's on the bench? I know they were just kind of mixing guys
Connor
in
Hickman
and out.
ran
Was
the-
it Hickman? Okay.
Hickman ran the point last night when Jizzle was on the bench.
Because I know he was playing off ball when he was in with Jizzle, and those 2 guys, like that's a hell of a backcourt. I know Hickman didn't start, but I think he will be starting. Like, I don't know who.
It's safe to say that Cincinnati has 8 to 9 guys that could be starting.
Yeah,
and Hickman is definitely one of them. And I mean, after last night, you could see why this staff was so high on him when they brought him in from Bradley this offseason.
Yeah, I mean, the comb over dunk, man, like that's.
I mean, the finger roll there in the second half.
Yeah.
That was a tough finish there, but it's pure to see when you can get Connor Hickman off the action, quick shots, quick pull up, that he's going to knock down shots. I mean, the form is so crisp, so clean.
Yeah.
And when shots are falling for him, all confidence is in the world. That Cincinnati has 6, 7 guys that could go out there and put up 10 points a night.
Yeah, I think after Frederick, he's got the best pure shot. I mean, Simash is a deadly. I mean, he shot 41, but I think when you're just 41% last year, but when you're looking at just how pretty their shot is.
Yes.
I mean, very few guys can match CJ Frederick, who's now in his 7th year of college football. Holy
Can
crap.
you believe that? I'm like, I never thought I'd see the day where they have 7 years of college eligibility here. You went to Big 12 Media Days. Where do you think the Bearcats stack up in the Big 12 conference this year?
4th.
4th, really? Ooh. So who's your top 5?
Kansas has some elite players. Everybody kind of knows that. They have the veteran group kind of talent there together between DeJuan Harris, KJ Adams, Hunter Dickinson. Everybody knows what you're getting there. Then they bring in a guy like AJ Storr, who is one of the big-time transfer targets. But overall, I think you see Kansas at the top. Think Baylor's right there behind them. Houston's going to be up there in the top 3. But realistically, Cincinnati could finish within the top 4 or 5 of this conference. But realistically, I see them finishing 4th just due to the depth that they have. Because, I mean, you look down, Ohio State manhandled Texas last night.
Yeah.
And then you look back last week, 2 weeks ago, that Cincinnati bullied Ohio State. So, I mean, overall, I don't see them finishing any lower than 5th or 6th in the conference. But I think we see them finish 4th at the end of the year.
It's funny because the conference is so deep. They were picked to finish 7th in the league, which is a bit conservative, but I mean, whatever. That speaks more to the depth of the conference. They're going to end up with a higher seed in the NCAA tournament than they are in the Big 12 tournament, which is crazy.
Yeah, and if that happens, it's going to be really crazy because, Joe, you look down at the Big 12. I mean, 5 teams in the top 10.
Yeah.
And, I mean, Houston's going to be good, but are they going to have that guy that steps in and fills the role of Jamal Shed?
Right.
Like, there's going to be teams. There's so much parity in the Big 12. Even unmute the stream.
You want to hear us now?
Unmute your.
Okay. There.
This guy, blame Jeff.
It's me. Okay.
Okay.
It was fine before. I could hear it on the phone. They kept saying they couldn't hear us. I'm like, I have no idea. I don't know what's going on. That says I'm gone again.
But long story short, Bearcats basketball is back.
Exactly.
Go Cats.
And 2023 Fan of the Year, Phil is here.
Oh,
What's up, Phil?
oh,
Thanks for coming.
Oh.
And his wife.
Can't forget the wife.
Thank you. Exactly. The reason you became
2023
fan of the
wife of the year.
Yes. Usually the show runs smoother than this, but
It's
this is about wait. Don't wait. Yeah, I'll screw something up. Hey, Brad says it's perfect. All right, we're good. So, all right. So the next we were talking about this before, which you guys might have talked about when I was trying to fix all this stuff. Well, the first real challenge for the Bearcats this year is what game coming up this in a couple weeks?
It will be Villanova on the road, but obviously you have NKU beforehand, and anybody who remembers what happened at Truist Arena last time knows that that's going to be a challenge. I mean, obviously 11 points in the second half of that game, if I remember right, where they went 4 of 28 in the second half. So overall, to a mid-major Northern Kentucky team, you don't want to have that happen for the second year in a row.
Hey, Greg here. What's up,
What's
Greg?
up, dude?
How are you? You just surprised me. I didn't know you were even here. So, it's been a shit show so far.
No one's been able to listen to us.
No one's been
from
able to
afar.
hear us because they can hear us in here, but it could. Anyway, long story. We got it fixed now. At least I hope. At least I hope. So anyway, if you guys didn't hear this, we're having a great time down here at the Moerlein Logger House.
If you can hear us, get your ass down here.
Yeah, just come down and watch. That way you can hear everything. It's a live show. We do every Tuesday. Show starts at 6, goes till 8. Happy hour starts at 3, goes till 9. What does that mean? That means $5 drafts, house wines, well drinks, and $2 off appetizers. Also, it's Prime Rib Tuesday. So get on down here and get you some delicious prime rib. Stop drilling, Joe. It's delicious. So next time, come on down here because next week we're definitely going to be talking some Bearcats. We got some pretty good guests. Who you got coming with us?
Yeah, so next week we're going to have my good friend Alex Meacham in the first hour, and then we're going to have Bearcats legend Terry Nelson in the second hour. So it's going to be a good time.
Exactly.
Good time next week down here. So make sure you guys clear your Tuesday schedules and come down and hang out with us.
Or can't do anything. I have no idea why. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, Lawrence, maybe you're a
T-Rock
little bit
too.
behind watching a little on delay. We test all this shit out before.
We did. We tested all of it before. The probably batteries are dying on it. Yeah, I did for a second. Yeah.
I was wondering what that was.
Yes. No, this is just the hot air comes out of my mouth.
Lawrence, can you hear us now?
All right, T. Brooks says Porky says it sound good.
Okay, Joey says
Joey Carr is here. All right, thank God. All right, we got the producer. The other producer's here. I got 2 producers. All right, so back to the Bearcats here. The expectations are of this team, I think, are, for me anyway, as a Bearcat fan, are the highest they've been. I'll say since Huggins, because even when Mick Cronin had they won the most games, won 31 games or whatever.
31 and 6.
Yeah,
the year they lost in Nevada.
For me, even that team, I was like, I don't know. We'll see.
We've been Cronin, and we expected them to shit the bed.
So
in the
this
first week.
one seems different. I mean, I know it's only one game that I got to watch, but just athletically, defensively, the shot making and the outside shooting that I don't remember a Bearcat team being able to do that consistently enough gets me excited.
Well, they have NBA caliber size too.
Yeah. Yes.
They have so many guys. Dan Skillings can cover pretty much 1 through 4. Dylan Mitchell can cover 1 through 5 for God's sakes. And it's having that length, having guys that can shoot. This is the kind of team that I've loved seeing. Like this is you've got so many guys that can shoot from outside. You're not limited with what you can do. You can pound it. You can play bully ball. Aaron Page can play with his back to the basket. Aziz can play with his back to the basket, but they don't want to do that. They want to be more up tempo and get a quick shot and go down and score. So it's fun.
And I mean, that's a great point too, Joe, because you looked at it last night. They were really trying to push the tempo.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But when they did push the tempo, they weren't just settling for the first open look that they had.
Right.
There's got a question from Brad here about Zella now that he's eligibility. What do we expect from him?
So for Halveen, it was actually kind of an interesting situation. Obviously, they were expecting him to redshirt, and then Tyler McKinley goes down with the injury, which kind of opened some things up to where they might be able to submit a waiver and get him eligible, which happened to be the case for Halveen Desalet, but they figured it out literally on Monday.
Right.
He was going to be cleared and eligible. So overall, expectations are big because Cincinnati knows, like, obviously losing Tyler McKinley, you lose a big depth piece in the front court. And McKinley was going to play this year. For the people who didn't know that, McKinley was going to find the rotation and probably be a key contributor in the front court especially if an injury popped up to Aziz Bandager or Arrington Page, McKinley was going to step in and be a contributor for this team this year. So he goes to the red shirt, and then, well, that's the anticipation. Obviously, he tears his ACL, so he's going to be out for the year. The anticipation is that they are going to redshirt him.
Okay.
And then on top of that, you get Zalit, who is a U18 center out of France. But overall, there's still some things that they are working through. Wes Miller said last night that Halvin does not speak any English, and that Aziz Bandago,
He's translating.
they have
for him.
Aziz
That's
Bandago
fantastic.
translating the calls to him in practice. But overall, I think Halvin's going to contribute this season, especially there in the post. I mean, they've already put 20 pounds of muscle on, and he's only gotten here I think he got here in early July.
Yeah, it was
Mike
at some point in the
Grayfeld
middle
and
of
them have
summer.
put on 20 pounds of muscle in not even 3 months. And he's up to 240, 6'11", 240. So it looks like they're still going to use him. But the anticipation heading into this one for him was they were going to redshirt him, allow him to practice and go against guys like Tyler McKinley and Arrington Page, Aziz Bandago, and then have a force to be reckoned with because Aziz Bandago is going to be without eligibility after this year. And that's a big-time part to your offense.
Yep.
So you want to develop the next guy behind him. But now you get him eligible. He's going to be a contributor. It's to be seen what his role will kind of be like. Even Wes Miller and the staff are still trying to figure that out, is what they said last night. But to hear Aziz Bandago is stepping in and kind of translating all the calls is pretty cool to see because I know I've talked to Simas Lukosius in the past. He speaks 7 different languages, for those who did not know.
Is French one of them? Because that could help too.
French
Just
was
in
not
case.
one of
Okay.
them. I confirmed that.
He needs to pick up 8. Just so we got
Confirmed
another
that
guy.
one last night. French was not one of them, but to hear Aziz Bandago, who is from Senegal,
Yeah.
translate French as well, that's a pretty cool story.
Yeah.
So overall, Halvin's going to play a big role into the season, especially throughout conference play with no buys. If someone goes down with an injury or something, they're going to see significant minutes.
Can you tell everybody what you witnessed yourself about Betsy? How many threes you made?
Yeah, he can shoot the ball, guys. I think people are kind of overall. We have seen him hit 40 plus threes out of 50 in practice before. So I mean,
Just like I used to do back in high school.
So for people wondering what his role is going to be, he's going to shoot the ball and he's going to shoot the shit out the ball.
As long as it goes
Only-
in, I don't care.
Only way that you can really describe it, because I mean, last night he pulled up 3 quick threes and 2 of them went in. Well, all 3 would have went in, but
and
the
they were
one
quick shots too. He got
and
he
the
got
one
them
was
quick.
the offensive foul. He's going to shoot the ball, and everyone knows it. So
It's crazy because he's a bigger bodied guy. I mean, yeah, he's 6'8". I mean, that's
and
not a big deal.
they
to be
put
6'8" shooter,
they
but
put 25 pounds of muscle on him.
I was
That's the
surprised
monster
because
factory.
I knew he was I knew he was a shooter, and if this
But you
were,
can play him in the front court a little bit
Yeah.
too, and you can get him a bucket that way. So,
if this were Bob Huggins, he would have never left the paint. I mean, look what he did to Ryan Fletcher, who was like a absolute long distance gunner, and he put 80 pounds muscle on him, and he never left the paint, which I think was the dumbest thing even back then.
But he had really long
that
socks
was
too.
yeah, that was
and for
several
people
generations of
for
basketball.
people
ago.
wondering too, like as a freshman, Wes Miller even said like there is not many freshmen that impact the Big 12. I mean, you look down, 14 McDonald's All-Americans transferred last season after their initial college decision. Tyler Betsy could come in and make an immediate impact and be one of those guys where we could see him go to the league in potentially 2 years.
That's the thing this team has. They have potential NBA guys.
Yeah.
And that's where what I said, I think last year. Wes has got to get guys that either are going to go to the league or at least have a shot of going to the league, especially if you're going to play in the Big 12. And it looks like he's got some of those guys. How many dunks do you think Mitchell will have this year? Because he's a beast.
I think he had 3 versus Ohio State. He had 2 last night. You might see Dylan Mitchell close to 40 dunks this year.
He can dunk on people. I mean, it's not. And what I liked about the team too is the ball movement, the unselfishness of them trying to get other guys the ball. And I noticed that a lot with Jizzle last night. There's times I think last year he would have took the shot and he saw his teammate had a better shot and he passed it. That's a sign of maturity, and that's throughout that whole team. I could hear.
Yeah, no, that was the biggest takeaway from last night. I mean, you look down for Jizzle James, you see 10 assists to 1 turnover.
Yeah, that's way better than last year.
Cincinnati only had 9 turnovers in the game, but there was games last season where it was freshman mistakes.
We'd have 9 in a 10-minute period.
Yeah.
Right. So it was freshman mistakes because people forget that Day Thomas was only in his first year at the D1 level last year too. So obviously you get the jitters. It's like essentially for Day last year was freshman mistakes. Some of those turnovers.
Well, he was running about 180 miles an hour when he should have been.
Yeah, slow down.
But
downshifting a
realistically,
little bit.
seeing a 10 assist night for Jizzle James is something you might be able to get used to.
27 to 9 assisted turnover, 3 to 1, and they caused 17 turnovers for very poor.
What's even
Pine
better
Bluff.
too on the assist aspect of things. Simas Lukosius had 4.
Yeah.
Dan Skillings had 4.
Now, did you guys notice? To me, you're talking about how Day went too fast last year. I think Skillings did that a lot last year too. To me, it looked like he was a little bit more under control, more than he was last year. Which I mean, he's a wily, gangly dude. He can put his body in weird ways and still stay on balance. But he was going so fast last year. And one thing I really respected last night, I saw him do it twice. He shot a 3 or shot an outside shot, knew he was going to miss it and followed.
Crashed the board.
Yeah.
Got his own rebound. I saw him at least do that twice.
And it's funny you guys mentioned that because there's been times where we would sit there and we would watch that play develop. Like last night, we looked and we were all looked to each other and we go, "There's Dan with his go-go gadget arms, crashed the rim. That ball barely nicked the rim for one.
Yeah.
And then when
And
it
he
came
got the
down, he was already right there and then went right back up with it.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. It's the way I was saying, follow your shot because you know you're going to miss it. You can tell which way the ball is going to bounce most of the time. That's what they always tell you, to follow your shot. And Dan did that a couple of times, and it's just the hustle plays. And they were getting on the floor at the end of the game, diving after
Up 50.
Up 50.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's I know Wes
multiple
loves
guys.
that.
I mean, it was
Yes.
diving and then diving for the loose ball after that, and then picking it up from the ground.
Yeah.
Jizzle picking it up and then
I saw
laying it in.
Aziz was like, oh, he got a floorboard or something. Like, that's good. Floorboards
Which
are
is
good.
also interesting. You mentioned that because Connor Hickman also had a floor burn as well from that. You could see him kind of shaking his hand. He was like, yep, I got that floor burn right here on the wrist.
Yeah.
But overall, I mean, to see 3 guys hit the floor.
Right.
Watching Wes's reaction from
when
he made the basket, he was absolutely.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever seen him that fired up. He'd much rather see 5 guys dive on the floor on something that goes out of bounds than see some perfectly timed lob or something like that, or a nice execute a 3 or something like that. So
Exactly. So
the effort.
very excited about the Bearcat basketball. Let's roll it into Bearcat football here. They had the week off. Where are they at health wise going into this week?
Yeah, that's a great question, Jeff, because obviously you leave the Colorado game and you had 2 key members on the line banged up. Gavin Gerhardt was dealing with a minor injury. Luke Kandra was the biggest surrounding, and then he actually got carted off versus Colorado per the broadcast.
Right.
Back in practice today, both of them. So that's a great sign. I know last week we kind of saw Luke Kandra on a crutch or 2, kind of what looked to be like a sprained ankle. We never got a definitive answer on it. But
Right.
it looked like last week it was a sprained ankle, but no one ever knew because obviously with the cart, and then you come back and then you hear he's good to go, or
Right.
they're anticipating him to play. He was in practice today,
There you go.
so that's a positive sign. But it's trending in the right direction for Luke Kandra. And I mean, guys, if he wasn't able to go, that's a huge loss.
Yes.
He's an All-American.
Yeah.
All-American.
You don't replace All-American.
All-American, projected 4th round draft pick as
Yeah.
of right now. I mean, that's a guy that's your heart and soul of
Yeah.
your offensive line. And then Gavin Gerhardt was banged up too. So I mean, if both of those guys weren't going to be able to go versus a West Virginia team that dominated Cincinnati last year, it could have gotten interesting, could have gotten hairy. But overall, both of them back out there at practice today. They're both anticipating on playing on Saturday, from what Scott Satterfield said. So that's a
What time's that game, Joe?
nip and noon, baby.
Noon.
Nip at noon, baby. Just like we've been waiting. We've been waiting nip at noon all day, all year.
There's one last chance for a nip at night
One
against
last
TCU.
I'll clarify more on that. Cincinnati does not control the time of the game.
Nope.
No.
For those wondering,
That's
it is
TV.
If not,
It's-
they'd have
it is
more
all
nip at nights.
TV time,
TV
so
networks and
TV networks and everything. So personally, it sounds like the staff and them like the noon games, but obviously TCU at a night game, depending on what happens here in the final 3 games. But it could get interesting.
you
But you're going to need to rely on TCU to continue to be successful to make that a night game.
Right.
My question is, how long has Thorsby been dealing with the thumb? I guess both of his thumbs. Was that something? Were those injuries that both popped up against Colorado, or was that something? Because he's looked a little off to me the last couple weeks. Accuracy and some of the decision making. Some of it is,
Yeah.
deep ball looked off.
Deep
I
ball,
mean,
yeah.
making some bad decisions is one
first-
thing, but
The non-throwing hand injury was suffered at Texas Tech.
Okay.
Because you went at Texas Tech the first 3 quarters, or might even 2.5, he played with no gloves, and then the
Yeah.
second halfway through the third quarter, he got rolled up on, hit his hand on a helmet,
Right.
and then he played with a glove. They taped it, and he played with a glove, and that's what led to the last few weeks. Of
But
him
that was
playing
his,
with
that
the
was his
glove.
non-throwing hand. though.
Non-throwing
Yeah.
hand. Non-throwing hand. The throwing hand must have got banged up at Colorado, but
A lot of things got banged up in Colorado.
But he said it's good to go, and he looked good at practice today. I thought this was probably the best we've seen him at practice since dealing with the hand injury. So overall, get him fully healthy in this final month. I mean, you're going to have to for Cincinnati have him fully healthy because you look down at the schedule. You have West Virginia, who, frankly, nobody knows what to expect on Saturday because they've
new
had
quarterback,
They have not only the new quarterback, because Garrett Green, their
defensive
quarter-
coordinator. That's right.
yeah, their defensive coordinator got fired. They're on their second string quarterback. Their running back is also banged up. Well, one of their 2 running backs, CJ Donaldson, was banged up 2 weeks ago, coming out of the bye week. But overall, I mean, West Virginia, you truly don't know. But I know one thing: Scott Satterfield and them were watching the tape back, and they made it clearly known today in the press conference that they were not happy watching that film back at West Virginia and what was arguably their worst performance of the season. And I remember sitting there watching that game live at Highland Muskin Stadium in West Virginia to when they got manhandled, beat 48-24, and then some players like just standing there watching them sing Country Roads when you're coming off, like knowing like it left a sour taste in their mouth, to say the least.
It's a bit of a payback game, hopefully.
I do not want to hear. I mean, again, my seats are in the behind the West Virginia bench, and among a lot of the visiting fans, I do not want to hear Country Roads.
All the visiting fans are around you.
Any Mountaineer hill folk
I can
singing
tell you,
that damn song during the game.
I can tell you, if you hear that song, Joe, it'll be after a Bearcats victory, hopefully.
So,
But overall, football, 1 win away from a bowl game.
that's huge.
So it is huge, but right now, like, the Big 12's wide open. It is wide open.
I mean, they don't have a shot. The title still.
I
though.
mean,
they still do. They still
but
do.
you know,
Like that's a
they
long
still-
shot, though.
You're going to need some things to play out in your favor.
What's the path to that to happen? You think the most?
You're going to have to win
Yeah,
out.
win out. Yeah,
You're going to have to win out for sure. You're going to need BYU to maybe lose 1
at
or
least lose
2.
one.
But Iowa State's going to need an extra loss. If you can go beat Iowa State, you can beat Kansas State. Those are 2 teams ahead of you.
Those 2 teams are beatable, I think, for the Bearcats.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And people also have to remember Iowa State comes in 17th ranked in the country. That's a get-back game for Tyson Veit, the defensive coordinator.
Yeah.
Came from Iowa State. Matt Campbell is a lifelong friend of Scott Satterfield. So overall, that Iowa State game should be circled, especially after how Cincinnati performed versus them last year. 30-10 loss.
that was a gross game.
It was a very awful game
Bad
on
showing.
all aspects. They just got outplayed on all 3 phases. But overall, I mean, Cincinnati controls their own destiny to at least a bowl game. And I mean, we were talking
And honestly, we talked about this beginning of the year. We thought they were going to make a bowl game, and to me, that's a win. I mean, even to be considered for a Big 12 championship, and it wasn't just they talked about it on game day. They mentioned the Bearcats last week if they could beat Colorado, so it wasn't just us being UC fans blowing smoke.
and you think about the
legit thing.
Colorado game too, for those who remember it. There was a chance
trying to forget
Cincinnati could have
They could have taken control. of
could
that
have
game.
taken control. The 4th and 1, everyone's judging Scott Satterfield on the play call. That was a great play call. Brendan Sorsby just went to the wrong hole.
Yeah.
Just went to the wrong hole. That was it.
Execution.
You get that first down there. Realistically, you go down, you have an ability to go points, but then you get stuffed. What happens the very next play? Jordan Young gets beat over the top by Travis Hunter for a touchdown 30 seconds later.
Yeah, that's a backbreaker right there.
So overall, I mean, Cincinnati controls its own destiny. I've said it from the month of June that they could go 7-5.
Yep.
And I mean, they control their own destiny. And we were talking to Jake Golday earlier today, and he said the goal is not just to go bowling and win this weekend, but the goal is to win out and find a potential route to Dallas for a Big 12 championship.
I mean, potentially, as long as they stay healthy and how Sorsby does as a quarterback, because he's got, like Joe said, he's got to get healed up, but more accurate, better decisions. Gets back to the way he was playing at the beginning of the year. I believe they could win out. They win out. You never know what's going to happen. And just
to say that from what we went through last year, I think it is a huge shout out to Sat. I mean, I do. And I was as hard on him as anybody last year, but I think he's done a hell of a job turning this around, getting the right people in here.
And people forget too. It's a good turning point, Jeff. You mentioned that Cincinnati just lost the top commit in their class to Michigan.
Yeah.
People forget that Cincinnati offered this kid a year ago, and in the last month, LSU comes calling, Florida State comes calling, Michigan comes calling, and about 15 other schools.
And Penn State did as well.
Penn State was right there in the mix as well. This staff is doing a fantastic job at identifying the talent in this class. I mean, look, Jordan Woods, another 3-star, just got offered by Ohio State 2 days ago. And this is a kid who's been committed to Cincinnati since April. So overall, I mean, Cincinnati is seeing something that not many other schools are really seeing right now. So
And they're ahead of the other schools. They're
so
making
you have to give credit to this staff and the job that they're doing.
But and that was the reason why I was willing to give Satterfield a little bit of break, because his game is being able to handle NIL and transfer portal.
Because look
and
at
being
what
able
look
to
at
develop,
what-
like identify talent.
and that is huge.
Right.
Through the
That's
age of college football.
And
His-
look at
his-
what Louisville is doing right now.
Yeah.
They were top 25 at one point, and then they just fallen off. But think about it. The success that they had last year, Scott Satterfield's class.
Most of those
Right.
guys were his guys, or you know.
Yep.
Even beforehand, Scott Satterfield's recruiting class.
I think it's more looking at the schedule on the stretch. I think it's more realistic that they split. I mean, they've got home game, back-to-back road games against top 25 teams. You got at Iowa State, at Kansas State.
There you
like that
go,
for TCU.
being a realist again. God.
I know. I think they win out at home. I think they lose both on the road. 7-5, and probably a Liberty Bowl game against Vandy. I think that's
Wisconsin would be a.
they hate Fickle already, which is
But
funny.
that matchup is being projected already.
Really.
So it has
That
been
would be
projected.
interesting.
I know that game, the Liberty Bowl, would be down in Nashville.
Yeah.
Which, since you bring up Vandy, I would hate that. For
Yeah, that would suck.
Cincinnati.
That's what I saw.
Would
I
hate
think
that
somebody
for
on the
Cincinnati.
Athletic, like what their projection was.
But realistically, I've seen the Guaranteed Rate Bowl out in Phoenix have a couple couple Bearcat
Chris
productions.
Heaver here says the Myrtle Beach Bowl.
I don't know about that one.
I just like the greenish, bluish, tealish, whatever the hell color turf they have there.
That'd be nice.
Out in Conway.
Wouldn't you mind? You wouldn't mind a trip to Myrtle Beach, would you?
Hey, I wouldn't mind a trip to Myrtle Beach.
I can stay out there for free. I'll cover the game for you. My wife's friend,
I'll
my
cover
wife's
it
going
for
out there.
But no,
What the hell? I'm the host of the show. Why can't I go?
but
Stay
realistically,
here and cover the show.
Oh,
we
damn
were
it.
talking about the Colorado game. I haven't had the chance to ask you guys about this. Joe Royer stiff arming the absolute heck out of Travis Hunter. What were your guys' thoughts on that?
He shoved the out of him.
He shoved him
was-
to the. He shoved him literally into the bench, like
Yeah.
literally into the bench across the
That
through
was
the white in the benches.
NFL tight end strength.
Yes.
Right there. NFL tight end strength there. And
Again, Travis Hunter's a stud. Like he didn't do anything to give me a bad taste, like Horn and Shador to irritate. He irritate the hell out of
He
me.
might have won the Heisman.
Yeah, I mean, the guy's a
Oh, that-
fantastic
yeah.
player.
But-
I have no problems with him at all.
but realistically, everybody knew Travis Hunter was going to go crazy versus Cincinnati.
But we hope not.
Right. But people that don't live in a rose-tinted world, Jeff.
What?
But yeah, it was fun to see him stiff-armed into another dimension. That was fun as hell.
And it just also leads to a turning point too about Joe Royer, because that's who I did my weekly interview with following or prior to this show. Joe Royer gave a huge testament to tight end coach Josh Stepp for the job that he has done. I asked him, I was like, talk us through your relationship with him. Like, obviously, that's your guy, tight end coach. You see it all over social media and what he means to you. Joe Royer gave a good 2-minute answer about how Coach Stepp essentially saved his football career.
Really?
Made him fall in love with the game again because of everything he dealt with at Ohio State. His mom passed away, unfortunately, and it was tragically.
Right.
And then he gets all the injuries at Ohio State as well. He basically lost himself. Like, COVID was going on at the time when he lost his mom. And then on top of it, you battle injuries. It's like, okay, how much, as a kid in that time, you're thinking, is it
worth it?
Is it worth it?
Yeah.
And then on top of it, he comes home, and I mean, look at the role he's doing. Like,
He's
there's
playing
a
great.
good chance, like,
He's going to
Joe
going to the
Royer
league.
could break Travis Kelce's reception record
How far away is he from that?
8.
Oh,
Yeah,
and how
that's-
many games we got left?
Yeah, 4.
4. Yeah,
he'll have that.
he's gonna break it.
He might have that, but I mean, depending on
There's
what,
a-
how
He might have
how
that next week.
Yeah, I was gonna say he might have it by the weekend. I mean,
Yeah.
that's-
So-
eight catches isn't a huge game. I mean, that's a lot of targets for a tight end, but he catches everything. It's not as if he's catching 8 of 16.
And I mean, it's great to see too. Obviously, I don't know if I've ever came out and publicly said this, but I grew up with Joe Royer, so I know him like outside of here. I remember him when he was 4 foot tall. Now he's 6'5", 260, and
He's a bit taller
Probably
than you are
go-
now.
probably going to the league at one point. in his
Probably.
career. But overall, I mean, just to see him, his hard work pay off, like with him and his family after everything they've been through, it's been a huge success story for Cincinnati.
And again, I'll say the same thing. What I said about Wes, we got guys that potentially could go to the NBA on Stats team. We got guys that could
You got
potentially
multiple guys who could go
go to the NFL.
Yeah.
Godfather being one. Hope the God the Bengals draft him. That would be
Godfather.
great.
I mean, he's a top 40, 45 draft pick.
At least.
Yeah,
Um,
you should expect to see
well, you can't
Dante
be,
go.
You can't be higher
before-
than a top 45 draft pick. That would be
You should
drafted beforehand.
you should expect to see Dante Corleone go in the first 2 rounds of the draft.
Yeah,
at least.
if he's still there somewhere in the middle of the second round, then there's been a weird run on.
Hopefully
then-
it's orange and black.
See, this is the stuff like the stuff with Joe Royer is the stuff that frustrates the hell out of me. Guys that obviously Ohio State gets their pick of recruits,
Right.
And they're getting 5-star recruits at every position year after year after year.
But look at
Stay home.
who Joe Royer played behind though.
Right, I know.
Jeremy Ruckert, NFL, Cade Stover,
Right,
NFL.
right, but UC also has a pretty good track
tight
record
end,
of developing tight ends.
Yeah.
Tight end you, baby.
Right.
Hopefully.
Iowa has that, but
I'm starting it now.
yeah, exactly. I mean, UC
I mean,
doesn't.
they-
UC's
they-
got nothing. UC's got nothing.
UC's
to-
got enough juice
yeah,
to really kind of get in on that
Yeah,
pipeline.
I mean,
Right,
they're
and
legit
that's-
thing.
And that's stuff that just frustrates me. And again, it's Ohio State has right, and now Ohio State has more money to offer with NIL and everything. But it's
A
But
ridiculous amount of money.
realistically, look at the track record for Ohio State in the NFL. Now, some people might hate to hear this. They have good college quarterbacks. They don't have good NFL quarterbacks.
Stroud literally
outside of
is
CJ Stroud.
literally broke the mold.
Outside of CJ Stroud,
Yeah.
they have good college or
He's the
NFL
first one they
quarterbacks.
had since.
If
Dwayne
you're-
Haskins made a bigger impact on the truck than he did on the NFL.
Oh, I'm gonna leave that one alone.
Ohio State
God.
is known to develop wide receivers.
That is
and-
so bad.
I'm out.
That is so bad.
They're known to develop wide
Look, Neil's
receivers.
being professional. We're just out. Go ahead, Neil.
Ohio State is known to develop wide receivers compared to every other position. Obviously, you have your offensive lineman, your defensive line. But Ohio State, if you're going to if you're a quarterback looking to go to the league, you're milking your NIL deal right now at Ohio
Yeah.
State. I can tell you that's what Will Howard's going to do.
Right.
I would enjoy that $1.5 million that he got and just pocket that and stay there as long as you can.
Right.
And look at Kyle McCord. He's having a hell of a year up in Syracuse after getting out of just the pressure cooker. I mean,
Yeah,
just got out of
just all
A hell of
how
a
much
year
shit
when he had that 5 interception game.
Yeah, well, yeah.
So,
He was having.
He was
a
having
good
the year
Yeah.
up there until that game.
so I have a question to ask both of you. With Sorsby, the way he's been playing, and like I said, he's got to start playing better. What do you think his chances are of? I think he could go to the league right now and be a backup, but do you think could develop into a potential starting quarterback in the NFL?
He'll stay. He'll stay in school. I can
Stay
tell
in
you.
school?
Yeah, he'll stay in school.
How many more years does he have?
He's a sophomore.
He's still got 2
So-
more years.
2 more years, okay.
He's
Well,
a sophomore.
he had 3 years entering
He-
this
he's
year.
draft eligible after this year.
Yeah, but he's not
But
going
he
in
still
now.
has
Yeah.
2 years of eligibility.
But I guess my point is the way he's playing. I think if he keeps developing the way he is on projected to be, he could be a first round, maybe early second round.
He doesn't have an exceptional trait.
He's going to need to get
He's
Another
got
year.
a good arm.
He's
He's
got a
got
really-
good
yeah.
mobility. And he's a great college quarterback. I mean, it's
I
kinda like-
say it's great. If you give him another couple more years, there's
maybe.
there's a chance. I'm not saying it's. I'm not saying rose color something like that. There's a chance because when he's on, when we saw the game, when he's on, he's hitting the deep ball.
Yeah.
and making decisions. He's
But
a hell of a quarterback.
realistically.
Now,
for
now,
Brendan
now,
Sorsby-
now we're being too loud, by the way, per Crypt Keeper.
What?
Suck it up.
Jeez,
realistically for Brendan Sorsby, he had the 3 years coming in. He put up a good first half of the season. Now you got to finish strong.
Yeah.
You build the tape from this year. Realistically, I say you stay 1 more year, and then you might be able to go out there if you continue to have the success that you have and kind of feel the numbers. But there's nothing wrong with staying for all 3 years.
Yeah.
And he can be a day 3 pick, and and have a career as a backup
Well,
or
and the thing
practice
is-
squad or go play in another league in the UFL or Canada.
Well, the thing is too is with the way that Stats got this thing rolling, which Stat, I think, does a good job of the NIL and all that stuff that you have to do in this day and age of football. That really they can add on to this season and could legitimately compete for a Big 12 championship, and that's something that I think most quarterbacks and players would. You want to compete for championships.
Well, a Big 12 championship gets you into the college football playoff.
Yeah, exactly. I get you in the playoffs for sure.
And that's an automatic bid to the playoffs.
Exactly. I mean, I think both teams that play in the Big 12 championship will end up in the playoffs.
But that's
no
the reason.
I
say that's the reason itself to stay.
Well, yeah. And again, I'm not.
Unless somebody wants to give $1 million
it comes down to dollars and cents too. I mean, if Ohio State sees something in him and thinks that he's going to make, they're going to be able to offer for more money.
USC already came calling.
Yeah, they tried to get him at the end.
And now look at what USC is doing.
Right.
Yeah.
Coming out of the bye week, they will be making the transition to quarterbacks because they just announced that they're going to bench Miller Moss. Which, if you're Lincoln Riley, I don't fully understand that because you're sitting 5-3, first year in the Big Ten. You should have kind of seen the record aspect fall that way, but overall, say he did go to Southern California and took that offer. Could have been seeing him out there, but he wouldn't have had the game tape if he didn't win the job versus Miller Moss.
No, absolutely.
And that's one thing. I'll go back. I'll roll back to Wes of how many guys he was able to keep here. Like I was very worried that Chisholm was going to leave. That was what I thought for sure might leave.
I can tell you guys right now, from what we have heard, some of those guys were offered a bag. To leave.
Yeah.
And talking high 6 figures, low 7 figures to leave. So overall, to keep them to retain here in Cincinnati was huge for Wes Miller. And the belief that these guys have in them, like, why would you not want to stay in Cincinnati after the success you had last season in year 1 in the Big 12? But guys, Wes Miller, obviously getting them to retain them has been huge for the Bearcats basketball program. So overall,
Jeff is really dim. We know this.
So overall, that is a huge thing for them. But to keep all of them there, 6 of them, it was not easy.
I still can't believe it.
I was surprised they kept all. I mean, honestly, I was shocked. I did not think that was going to happen.
And the new landscape of college basketball, like, guys, I hate to say, schools tamper.
God, yeah.
You know it. And it happens. There's people finding ways around it. But to see Cincinnati contain everybody was huge. Was huge for them. So, and you saw it last night. Continuity is the biggest thing.
I mean, you spend the first quarter of your season, if not more, just trying to figure out a rotation, much less figuring out what your roles are and so that they can come in running. That means they can just build on top of it.
Right. And if you got guys who've been there, it's not as hard to figure out who goes where. At least the guys that are there already know who
and I
did
can
what.
Tell you right now, Dan Skillings wasn't going to go anywhere.
Yeah.
Especially after, I don't know if you guys know the full story, but Wes Miller recruited Dan Skillings so hard that he popped up at his uncle's barber shop in New Jersey multiple times a week to get to know his uncle and Dan throughout the recruiting process. Think about that.
That's the thing. Like you got to have no life if you're a college basketball or football coach to try to get these kids to come to your school.
Yeah. And I mean, look at it. That was 3 years ago. That was Wes's first big time recruit. Now look at what Skillings has played off to be.
Yeah.
But the fact was, like, made the effort, made the connection. And he even said it last night. He goes, I think the world of Dan Skillings, but he wants more out of him. He goes, I was on his ass tonight, basically, is what Wes Miller said. He was like, I was on him hard tonight, but I thought he could have had a 17 and 15 kind of night. But the sky's the limits for him. And if you see that in a coach and a coach says that, like, you're doing something
he
right.
believes in. Exactly. That's the guy that you're going to go out there and give blood and sweat for. Let me ask you, and again, we're pivoting to basketball again after talking about football and then basketball before, but are you surprised?
Essentially.
I know. Are you surprised? Like, we'll get there. We got another guy.
We got Jay Morrison on his way here sometime too.
Are you surprised that Dan is a skilled offense? Because 2 years ago, his freshman year, he looked so raw. He literally looked like a baby deer running out there.
Yes.
Like
looking at it now,
everywhere, like ball handling.
Looking at it now, I'm not surprised that he is, but back as a freshman, you could see the struggles, but people also forget he didn't play basketball until he was a sophomore in high school.
That's what shocks me.
People forget
how
about
good
that
he
aspect.
is. He didn't start playing until then.
Yeah, and to develop to a 4-star in 2 years, guys, he was right outside the top 100 in that class.
Yeah.
Then to come in and see what he's really taken off to do with a full coaching staff, full college coaching staff. And I mean, guys, Chad Dollar is one of the best assistant coaches in all of basketball. People forget that he was the lead recruiter to get Anthony
he got
Anthony Edwards to Georgia. than a first-round draft pick. Tim Buckley has had so much success from South Carolina to Marquette to Indiana.
And that's something I don't think people realize. It's Wes, but it's also the coaching staff behind him, how much work that they do.
They gave him the budget to be able to get that caliber of assistant coach.
Yes.
Because, I mean, this isn't getting guys that are up and coming.
Right.
These are finding guys that are established coaches and bringing them
And I think the biggest thing, too, was adding Drew Adams to the coaching staff. People forget that his father is a very high AAU coach, very involved in the AAU world. And to get them, like Cincinnati, people forget Cincinnati was in the running for Flory Badunga.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And, I mean, there was a connection there with
third, I think.
He was number 3 overall in the class last season. The 2024 class, but the Adams family played a part in that. That's why they were able to get him to campus. Guys, Wes Miller's second season, people forget about this. They had the number 1 overall prospect at one point in the class of 2023 on campus in Isaiah Collier.
Yeah.
What does that say about the staff and the job that Wes Miller is doing?
Yeah.
Obviously, he came and visited with now Bearcat Arrington Page, but those two were on a visit together.
Yeah.
You guys remember that?
Let's talk about it. Brad here says Wes has Roy Williams in his pocket. Well,
he'll bring them in, like he brings them in.
Yeah, he brings them all the time. Just talk about that relationship.
That relationship is actually fantastic. It really is. Like Wes has so much belief and so much love for Roy Williams.
Yeah.
And guys, Roy Williams has been on campus multiple times.
At games multiple times.
Multiple times.
Yeah.
We saw him at the tip-off dinner earlier in October, but he's been around the team more frequently than people know about. Like there's been times Wes Miller has called him and said, "Hey, I need some advice here," or something like that. Like to see him rep a CPAW jacket,
North Carolina legend repping a CPAW,
Kansas legend.
Not only was it huge for Cincinnati, but it was huge for the Jordan and the Nike brand as well.
Like that, just to have a legend as your mentor who's still involved.
Oh yeah.
People forget Wes Miller played with Tyler Hansbrough.
Yes.
Wes Miller's first game.
Psycho T.
Who was sitting in the press conference room, first row, listening to what Wes Miller had to say. Tyler Hansbrough. Yeah. What does that say about the North Carolina and the relationships that Roy Williams has with his former players?
Which is great, but also scares me if they ever fire Huber or not Huber. Who's North Carolina?
Hubert Davis.
Yeah, Hubert Davis. They fire him. They might be going after Wes.
Not even
which would suck. And I do think Wes would. I think Wes would leave to go there, but I don't even want to think about that right now.
I mean, it's
his alma mater.
Can't blame. You can't blame.
If a blue blood comes calling for your head coach, then you did something right.
Yeah, and that's the thing that okay, just about all the football coaches we lost, which were everybody's pissed off at Fick for leaving, going to Wisconsin. Say what you want, but it's a Big Ten school. They got more money than we do. I won't say better recruits, but has more money to get recruits and stuff.
He's going to have a nice buyout here at the end of the year when they can his ass.
That too. That's what happens though, and that's where I don't get mad when we have coaches, like especially football coaches, leave to go somewhere else, because that means we're doing something right. Now the process is you got to have somebody and make the right decision for the next one to come in, which I wasn't sure it was Satterfield or not, but now I'm still on the fence.
Yeah, on that one, but people forget that you mentioned that, Jeff. That's a great point. People forget that Scott Satterfield's first staff that he had built heading into the 2023 season, Tom Manning. Where is he at now? Indianapolis Colts, tight end coach.
Yep.
Brian Brown gets poached after a year for an SEC school. Like another one of his coaches went to the NFL, if I remember right. So you got 2 coaches that he once had on staff in the league.
Right.
And then you have another one at an SEC powerhouse who's a top 10 team in the country right now.
Exactly.
So he knows ball. Like clear as day, he knows ball. And he's getting the right coaches. But overall, I mean, like we said earlier, you got to give them time to trust what they're actually doing.
You have to give them 3 years at least. And that's what I kept saying with Sat. And to clarify, I'm not completely sold yet, but I'm getting there. I'll put it that way.
The fire that his seat has gotten
from where it went last year to this year is such a big jump and a big difference, not only in the talent he got, but the program and the way they're playing.
You needed to see the difference. You need to see the attitude.
Yes.
And that was the thing last year. And a lot of it was players that didn't buy in that are no longer there, that are now in
Central Florida
or at Arizona State. Like guys that just didn't buy in. They had their own agendas. And I get, like, guys don't see it. Like they want They see better opportunities elsewhere. That's fine. I get it. You still need to work your ass off. You
Yes.
still need to like give the effort because first off, that's going to look shitty for you when you go to your new school. But yeah, we'll
I'll say this too.
I like the step that they have made with Satterfield.
I didn't put it this way. The way into last year, I did not think we were going to be. I know what you were very optimistic, and I'm like, okay, Nil, yeah, okay. I didn't believe it. I'll be honest, I didn't believe it. I'm like, okay.
Look back at the last 6 years for those who are listening. There's only one coach.
We
in
got
college-
99 people watching us. We're very popular.
in college football that has had a team that has thrown for 200 yards a game and 200 rushing yards a game for the last 6 seasons. Who is that head coach? Scott Satterfield.
Now, Brad says this, and I don't remember this. But he said, if you remember when UC hired Fickle,
Correct.
it was between Sat and Fick. I don't remember that.
That is correct. That is true.
And I remember people were like, who the heck is Fickle? And I'm like,
because the same booster that wanted Satterfield the first time is still there.
yeah, well, that's what I got my second time. But I mean, I'll tell you this, like, because when people because I had other people who aren't Bearcat fans say, like, well, weren't you excited when you got Fickle? I'm like, well, not really. I mean, I was like, oh yeah, we're going to go to the college
And
football
also
playoffs.
look at where that program was
Yeah,
when
I'm like,
they hired Luke Fickle.
It was
He was a boring safe hire. to me.
yes,
Like not a bad one, but just boring.
And then he had that 1 year where he was the head coach at Ohio State, which he was interim. It didn't go all that great. So I wasn't for it. I wasn't against it. I'm just kind of like, okay, we'll see what happens. And that's kind of where I was.
And then the
with
first
Sat.
year they went 4-8,
yes,
similar to what Scott Satterfield did.
Yep.
Second year they turned it around. Third year
that was the when I knew they were onto something was the UCLA game.
That was first
Third-
game of 2020 or 2019 season.
2019 season.
Yeah.
Third year under Luke Fickle, they go back to the
2018
Peach Bowl.
2018 season.
They go to the Peach Bowl. Fourth year, they go to the college football playoffs.
Yeah.
Cincinnati was 3-9 last season under Scott Satterfield.
Yeah.
Look at where they're at right now, 5-3 with the potential of still going bowling this
Yeah.
weekend.
And when
Yeah,
you
they'll
look
go
at the two differences from when Luke came in. We're coming out of why can't I think of the old coach's name?
Tommy Tuberville.
Tommy Tuberville.
I've
Jeez,
tried everything in
yeah,
my possible
I
history
forget his
to
name.
forget
We're coming
that
out of the Tommy
piece of garbage.
Tuberville era, which was awful. So where Luke brought us out of 5 years of shit to get to the college football, doing the highest of highs of the college football playoffs.
And he did it in only 1 year too.
And realistically, when Luke Fickle did leave, that was right before the Big 12 transition comes. Like,
Yeah.
that transition wasn't going to be easy for any coach.
Yeah,
No, especially one that came in
late.
late too. That's the thing.
Especially, they hired Scott Satterfield in literally the second week of December
Mhm.
of 2022. So overall, that transition wasn't going to be
Don't go easy.
easy. It
Look at directional Florida. I mean, they had Malzahn already.
Directional Florida.
Yeah, they don't get the real name. If you're a directional something, you're a Mickey Mouse University.
Guys, they
Get it
they
there
paid-
in Orlando.
Yeah.
They paid KJ Jefferson nearly $500K to bench him after 4 games.
Yeah, they're now on their fourth starting quarterback.
Fourth quarterback.
They had a better year last year, but they really weren't better. Like they won close games that UC lost, and you look at them this year, they're not very good. So it's that transition is hard. Not everyone can do.
Week,
I mean, look at how shitty Houston is. UC played Houston in the AAC championship game in 21, and Houston's won what 8 games since
then they canned Dana Holgerson
Yeah.
after 1 year
Yeah.
in the Big 12, and Dana Holgerson is now heading to Nebraska to help out as an offensive consultant.
Yeah.
So I mean, overall, like they fired a coach who is in year 1 of the Big 12. That transition is not going to be easy for anybody.
Yeah.
But overall, I mean, you look back at what coaches were in this league. Like Houston had a great coach.
Yeah.
UCF, I mean, Gus Malzahn was the.
Do you think he's going to make it this year, Gus Malzahn? I think
They'll
he's-
give him to the end of the year, and then
But I think he's getting
they'll figure
fired.
everything out. No, yeah. If they don't
Hey.
fire him this year, they'll give him one more year, and then
school.
he'll be on a very hot seat. Going
The
into
thing, like
next
schools like UC and UCF, yeah, they're not stepping stone group of 5 schools anymore, but getting retread coaches and he's a retread coach, kind of, sort of. I don't know. He's weird.
Oh, he is. He was at Louisville. And
Because,
then came here.
and
It was a
but
lateral.
they hired him away.
I'll tell you
for
guys-
Weird.
I'll tell you guys right now,
But-
if UCF loses out, which you never know what could happen, if they lose out and something happens to where they finish under 500, Gus Malzahn will be on the hot seat or fired at the end of the year.
Oh yeah, he'll absolutely get fired.
At this point, I'd be surprised if he doesn't get fired.
Yeah.
To be honest, but just getting back to So with Sat, I respect what he's done this year. I'm very impressed with what he's done this year. I did not think they would make this big of a jump from one year to the next. That gives me hope moving into this because I keep saying it's of the NIL, of the transfer portal, all this stuff that they got to do.
I would say
he seems to be doing a pretty good job at it.
I would say most important, the NIL does play a factor, but another thing I would think about that plays into a role is the continuity, like we talked about earlier.
He
you get your whole offensive line to return.
Yeah.
Dante Corleone coming back was huge,
and he's bought in. He is a leader,
and
like,
he could
getting that guy to buy in and be the face. And
he could have left last year. Everyone kind of knows Dante could have left last year. Then you bring back veteran talent, like they have hit on literally just about everybody they brought in the transfer portal.
Jake Golday
was a massive hit. Josh Minkins was a hit. Derek Canteen was a hit. Brendan Sorsby was a hit.
Yeah.
Like, I think Russ and I on the Bearcat Blitz show went 16 or 17 guys that were hits out of the 20 that they brought in. So overall, the staff
Evan
does
Pryor
a
is a change of pace.
Right.
Like
I think it's from last year we went from a straight running team to a more balanced.
They went to
year.
a straight running team because they had a quarterback who
couldn't throw the ball right.
Yeah, who struggled to throw the ball and was used.
This
to
is more
using
what
leg.
what Sat wants to do.
But is it though? Because he likes having. I think he likes having. Emory Jones was a quarterback. I think that he wanted because that's the guy that he likes. I mean, he got Lamar Jackson, recruited Malik Cunningham. He likes those running quarterbacks and guys. Yeah, they can throw, but they're also primarily running teams. So I don't know.
Look, Malik Cunningham is now a wide receiver.
Well, right, I know.
Right.
I'm talking about like the type of offense that he likes. He likes teams that
runs
run
the
for
outside,
250 and throw for 200.
The outside zone offense, everyone knows that.
And I think Sorsby actually runs better than I thought he would.
Yeah, he can move.
He's actually
he can move.
Yes, he's actually pretty good athlete there.
Yeah.
So just let you know, Jay Morrison just DM me. He's walking over from the stadium. So Jay Morrison, I always want to say of the Athletic, but he's not of the Athletic anymore. He's Sports Illustrated.
I think he's freelancer working.
He's working with James.
Yeah, he's with James Rapine now. So he's bounced around a lot. So he is on his way here. So we'll get the.
I will stare out the window, looking longingly for him.
Jay,
we will
Jay, where you at?
All of your latest Bengals updates on why they did not get defensive help at the trade deadline.
They made calls. They like the guys they have in their room. Their asking prices were too high.
I'll put it this way. I am happy they got a running back, but I would have rather got a freaking pass rusher.
Realistically, I haven't seen anything. You guys might know more. Is BJ Hill even going to be?
I haven't heard anything today. I don't know.
Good to go on Thursday?
I'm not sure. I'm worried. That's what I asked Jay when he gets here. I'm worried about him or worried about Orlando Brown.
He's not going.
Or
Orlando was at least dressed.
It looked like Orlando was limited in the estimated practice.
Yeah, and that's why when he gets
we get to realize more. But
the
big thing is T. Like if you can get him out there, it's a whole different offense.
Well, how excited were you about how the offense looked? We scored 41 points last week without T.
Joe was cooking last week.
5 touchdowns. Joe was cooking. Yeah, for sure.
Joe was playing with hot grease. Like literally, like it seemed like everything was firing on all cylinders.
And he still left stuff out there like he could have hit.
True.
And I think that's where, like, we talked about this before the show, the whole fist bump with Zach and, everything. He's done with Zach. Like, I didn't get that. I get, like, if you listen to him at the end of the game, he's like, get your shit together. Yeah. We got a short week. We got to stay focused.
And that's what stands out about
that's
Joe.
What I think. I think it's more focused of, look, we won this one. It ain't over. We got to win this one to have any shot of getting back in this at all.
And maybe he hates Zach Taylor with the Heat of 1,000 Suns. I don't know. But that wasn't
you're not in his brain,
right? And that's not what the weird little video clip that they kept showing because he kind of didn't even roll his eyes. He dapped him up. Zach kept walking. Zach said something. And he kind of just gave up, like glanced at him for a second. Like that's not. No,
it wasn't like Aaron Rodgers not letting the source.
The funnier reaction was him reacting to Jermaine Burton dancing on the sidelines, and then sitting next to him on, and
I don't think he liked that. That's we saw him and Jermaine have a conversation. Then
and then you see Jermaine's ass in the casino.
Yeah, I don't think Cincinnati liked the picture of him in the casino earlier, based on the comments that Jamar Chase and all them said today. Was like you can't baby him in the NFL, and there's reasons why. You look back at Jermaine Burton in college, like he was on that Georgia team in the Peach Bowl. Yeah. But he goes to Alabama. Nick Saban said it prior to the draft that off the field issues were probably going to be the main concern with him. And
reason he was a 3rd round pick with a 1st round talent.
And the thing is, his problem on the field is he hasn't been able to get the whole route tree. And I've said this last week, going in right before halftime, he's running deep. Joe throws it back shoulder. That's the stuff that where Joe can't trust you. That's where we're like, well, you can't put him on the field and just tell him to run straight every single time because they're going to know exactly what he's doing. They're NFL players. They're going to figure it out pretty quick.
Yeah. Natty Ron says Burton's a joke. Done with him. He's going to get more chances, but he has to earn Burrow's trust.
Guys forget that Jamar Chase just came out today too and said he had a similar instance where he was late for a practice last year or a meeting, and then he came out, got his head together in 2021.
Yeah.
Went nuclear versus Baltimore.
Yep.
So overall, hopefully this is a learning lesson for Jermaine Burton. But if not, guys, we have seen first and second round talents in Cincinnati not last because of all the field
This is what
issues.
happens when you go dumpster diving for bargains. You get trash. This is the Bengals.
But
Bengals
really,
this is the first round talent
first year
available in the
that
third round.
this is really the first year they've done this.
Jackson Carman.
But Jackson Carman, which is a terrible freaking pick.
Joe Mixon was dumpster diving,
was
and
dumb.
Joe Mixon had a good career, but he was
Joe
dumpster
Mixon was
diving.
also back in my. What I'm trying to say is this is the first time they really done it in Zach Taro's coaching. Joe Mixon was in Marvin Lewis, and they did all the time in Marvin Lewis.
Jackson Carman.
So they haven't, huh?
Jackson Carman was Zach Taylor era, right?
Yeah, Jackson Carman had a third round grade, and
Jackson
they picked him
Carman
the
was
second
just
round.
a bad.
They needed.
Jackson Carman was just a bad freaking pick. Altogether, that was a horrible pick.
Michael Jordan was another bad pick.
That was from Marvin Lewis.
Yeah,
That's what I'm saying. They haven't done. These are, in my opinion, these are the first two that they actually reached on guys that had. Jackson Carman was never good. That was just a bad pick. That's a terrible pick. But these guys are like Eric All. Love the guy. I hated that he's got a torn ACL. But that's another one they took a chance on that hopefully he'd stay healthy.
But people forget that injury is more significant than people might realize.
It's the second knee. Or same knee.
Same knee.
Yeah.
But he is a 3-tool tight end.
Oh, he's awesome. He's the
And
best tight end we had.
Yeah. I would say
there's
he's
not
your
a
best.
1-for-1 replacement of him.
Yeah, you're not going to find a guy who can do everything that Eric All can do, especially in the pass game, the blocking game, the run game. But overall, he goes out and he's like a wide receiver as well. So overall, that's a huge loss for Cincinnati as well.
Exactly. So yeah, it's all. It's going to be interesting. I wish when they made trades, I wish it was for a running back. That's what, or not running back, a pass rusher is what I was hoping. But we have the man who did you ride a scooter over here?
I did.
Oh, I want to see a video of that. That would have been awesome. But we have Jay Morrison and from Sports Illustrated now with James Rapine now. I got to make sure. There you go. So I got to make sure I kept. Well, I was still want to say the Athletic. I'm still stuck on that one.
Oh yeah, that was a couple jobs ago.
Right. Exactly. So we're all right. So they did make a trade. They got the running back, which is I was surprised they did. I honestly did not think the Bengals were going to. I would, like I said, I would rather them got a pass rusher. How were they close to getting anybody? What have you heard?
No, I don't think so. I mean, they did their due diligence. They called around. But, getting the running back, I think we were all surprised because they don't make trades.
Right,
but they make trades when they have to, basically, when you have a Carson Palmer situation. The Carlos Dunlap one a couple years ago where he forced his way out. They had to get a running back.
Right.
I mean, Zach Moss, this is going to be season ending. Kendall Milton has 6 career snaps, and they all came last week.
Right.
Travion Williams has been here forever. Since Zach's been here, he's had 62 career rushes.
Yep.
Got blown up in a pass pro play last week. They needed to get a veteran guy in, and I mean a 7th round pick. It's a
no brainer.
It's a huge benefit, and it's a win-win because the Bears weren't going to use.
Yeah, he'd been inactive the last 2 weeks, I guess.
Yeah, just not even playing.
You can tell by his Twitter. He said, "Thank God."
Yeah.
he got out.
So, do you have anything more to add? Do we know what happened to Zach Moss?
No, we just talked to Zach right before I came over, and I asked him that. I said, "Was it a single play? Was it a cumulative thing?" And he said they're not really sure. He reported some soreness Thursday night. Friday he couldn't practice, and it was he got a couple second opinions, and they don't know exactly what it is. Zach didn't want to comment, which is understandable, about whether it's potentially career ending. I mean, you always wonder with that kind of thing. It's such a strange injury, and so hoping for the best for him. Obviously, just super nice guy, a very good player. It was an important piece to this offense coming over in free agency, and so hopefully hopefully he can ride. You'll get fixed, be back next year, and ride out that contract he signed with his team.
Is it too early to really tell how Herbert fits in compared to how Zach fit? I mean,
Yeah.
I think they're kind of similar sized, but I don't. They're different styles of running backs. Zach Moss was supposed to be the better pass blocker. I know Herbert's numbers on PFF aren't great, but Burrow did give him props. Said that all he knows is that that he's a decent pass blocker. And I forget what else he said though. Are they even going to be able to use him on Thursday? Are they going to be able to have? I know he was here. Are they going to be able to have a package for him to contribute on Thursday's game?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. I mean, Zach said it would be the first time that they stuck a guy in there after just getting him, and
Right.
and Joe said I can just lean over and tell him to play. He's going to be lined up right next to me now. It's going to be loud in Baltimore.
Go black guy. Go run through that hole.
Yeah, exactly. But I think they're overselling a little bit his pass protection. I don't think he's great in that regard, but he is willing. He'll stick his nose in there. Zach Moss was getting better at that. Khalil Herbert has not played a lot of third downs, and I think that's the reason why. He's a good receiver, but I think the limitations in pass pro is what has kept him off the field on third down, and he's been more of a early downs back. Explosive.
Yes.
14th in the league last year in explosive percentage. He had 11 explosive runs, only had about 130 some carries. So he's always had that in him. He had 3 really good years in Chicago, but they have new owners, not ownership, but they have a new front office now. And,
Right.
and he's from the old regime. And they went out and they drafted Roshan Johnson last year, and then they signed DeAndre Swift in free agency this year. And so he's expendable. And the Bengals did what a good team should do and swoop in,
And get him.
just like the Texans last year with Joe Mixon.
Yes.
The Bengals were just going to cut him, and the Texans like, well, hey, we'll give you a 7th round pick if you're just
Right.
going to cut him.
Right.
So I think it's a good fit for both teams.
So how refreshing was it to see Chase Brown run over 100 yards? And I saw a lot of them going right up the middle, I was surprised. What was your thoughts on Chase Brown, how he did last week?
I thought he looked terrific, and it was from the jump. If you remember, first
Yes.
play of the game, 5-yard run. Second play of the game, 5-yard run. It's like, okay, that was the question all week. How do you get the run game going? And that's how you do it. You commit to it early. You find some success early. You stick to it. 27 carries is a lot for a guy that size.
That's on a short week or going on
and a short week,
too,
right.
and 5 receptions. I looked it up. The last Bengals player that had more than 32 touches in a non-overtime game was 15 years ago.
Wow.
It was Cedric Benson. He did it 3 times in that 2009 season. So
Hashtag Jay's got stats.
Yes, yeah. That's a lot of work for a guy that you worry about his durability. Yes, he averaged 27 carries per game at Illinois his senior year, but it's a different animal now. And he had a rib injury on Sunday. Now it seems okay. He's been practicing this week. Well, they didn't actually practice yesterday, but the estimated report had him full. He was out there working tonight. So I don't think the rib injury is gonna affect him, but that's what you worry about with a guy that size, giving him that kind of work. And on the very first game when he gets a big load to have an injury happen, I think that also kind of kickstarted their desire to go get Khalil Herbert.
Nice
today.
thing, at least after this game, they've got the long week for the Chargers, and then they've got the bye week after that. So
Yeah.
if they can have him on a more, I don't want to say pitch count, but be able to mix in, Herbert or whoever. I don't know if they're going to have who running back 3 is going to be. Would they elevate or keep Williams, or would they elevate Milton over him?
Elevate who?
Milton to play over Williams on Thursday.
I think
that's at least a big bodied. I don't know how
Yeah,
he blocks, but
Kendall Milton doesn't give you anything on core special teams,
Yeah.
whereas Travion Williams does play a lot of special
True,
teams. He's
true.
your kick returner too. If Charlie Jones doesn't go, they were just practicing when I came over. Jermaine Burton was back there fielding
What about-
kickoffs and punts, and
What
I
was
think he
Orlando
would have
Brown
been a
doing?
kick returner last week had he not no-showed him on Saturday.
Yeah.
What was Orlando Brown doing?
He was working. He's the injury report came out before practice, so he was listed as limited, but it's his first time back to practice. I think it feels like he could have gone last week, but it's why push it? The Ravens game is more important,
Right.
And it just you didn't want to take the chance of re-injuring it. T seems more doubtful. Jamar Chase kind of even let it slip. He was asked about T today, and the way he answered it made it definitely sound like
he ain't playing.
yeah, he's not. It doesn't sound like he's going to be going on Thursday night.
So you think Orlando there's a good shot Orlando will play in your opinion?
I don't know if I'd say good shot. I would say he'll probably be listed as questionable.
Okay.
And usually guys that are questionable will play.
Yeah.
But,
And Orlando's only missed one or two games in his career.
Yeah, he missed a season finale when they were resting their starters. That was the first game he's ever missed to injury.
Okay.
Yeah.
So hopefully he'll play. How impressed were you with? I know it's the Raiders, and the Raiders don't have a bad defense, but 41 points. They did that without T. Higgins. And to me, when the offense has sputtered this year, it's been because T's not on the field. They looked very impressive this last week.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the Kansas City game when they didn't have T. And Gesicki stepped up
True.
and had a big game. That's key. You need those kind of guys to do that. And you remember they lost Eric All in the middle of that game, and that throws a wrench into plans. So it was an impressive performance, and the Raiders as bad as they are offensively, they have a legit defense.
Right.
So to put up those kind of points, Joe to have the 5 touchdowns, I do think that was a building block, but it was a great momentum creator going into a game against Baltimore, who they scored 38 against last time they played them.
Seeing 5 touchdown passes and none were to Jamar Chase. That was the incredibly.
And it's Drew Sample and Chase Brown and Gesicki. His verses have been
Drew Sample, the tight end god. Just putting it out there. I think
just kind of piggybacking off of what you guys are talking about, the tight ends. People forget that Jamar had the opportunity there down at the 2. That could have been 6, but overall, fantastic. But overall, you said you weren't 100% sure if they were going to make the moves on the defense of the ball. But was there any speculation that it could have got done, or did they just hold out because of asking prices being too high?
Yeah, I think. Well, you look, a lot of the guys that they were rumored out there didn't end up getting traded, Ojulari and those types, and it's just at running back they had to do it. They don't have another option.
Right.
On defense, these guys aren't where you want them to be, but they invested draft capital. They've got all these young guys. They're waiting to make a leap and to show some progress, and you just kind of stunt that by bringing another guy in.
Exactly.
Now, he might be better, but I still think they're kind of in that hope and faith phase that the light's going to go on for these guys, and it is going to get better, and you're going to see this defense gel over the second half of the season, which is all going to be against teams that are not – that they're going to look like the Giants and the Browns and the Raiders. Get past the Ravens, and none of the rest of the teams are in the top half of the league in DVOA, offensive DVOA. So they've got a chance to make something happen there and get some of these young guys to grow up. Lou was raving about Joseph Osai again this week. Seems like he kind of has this up and down.
But he's still not getting pressure on the court. The only pressure I see is Trey. That's why I wanted another pass rusher to get somebody on the other side to go get him.
Yeah.
So what is Lou so happy about with Joseph Osai?
Well, it was mainly he was talking about the effort and how much that he leaves it all out there on every play of the game, and he is getting better as a run defender. And the pass rush isn't quite there, but we saw him. They kicked him inside a couple times, so he wasn't coming off the edge.
Right.
Chris Jenkins gets his first sack. Sheldon Rankins had a pressure, so they did get a little more pressure other than just Trey. And if you think about it, 3 or 4 Trey sacks came in the fourth quarter.
Right.
Exactly. So it wasn't like they were dominating them the whole game.
And his first sack, I think, was because there was quick pressure from the other edge, and then the interior collapsed the pocket, so he literally fell into Trey's lap. I think if that was his first one, I think.
Yeah.
So, and again, that was good to see. I still have hopes in stock. Miles Murphy.
Wait, you have hope?
Realistic. Hope.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
I think Miles Murphy, he's not going to be the Trey Hendrickson type monster on the other side, but
consistent pressure would be nice.
You look at his pressure percentage and everything, and it's better than most of the guys that they were looking to possibly, or at least the guys that were mentioned out there outside of like Calais Campbell or something like that. It was better than Ojulari. I think just the more reps he gets, and I want him to get more and more of a share. He's still taking a back seat snap-wise. I think they should feed him more and more reps, but I think he's going to provide more the more he gets out there, at least.
Yeah, you would hope so. And Osai did outsnap him this past week, and so that's a bit of a concern. But again, it takes a lot of these guys a little bit for the light to come on, not mentally and doing the right things, but just for everything to click and really start performing. Trey wasn't great his first couple of years in the league, and Miles did miss the first 4 games, missed a lot of camp with the injury, so he's kind of catching up to speed. It's like you see baseball players and they miss all the spring training, and then it's like June, July, then it starts going again. So he's all part of that process. These young guys that they are really hoping the second half of the season is where it's going to start happening.
And the one thing with Miles is his get off. It's like in baseball, you can't teach speed. You can't teach
It's quick.
that guy being able to get off the line. It's quicker than Trey.
Yeah.
And him being able to translate that speed into the moves and to have a better repertoire. I think he's going to be fine. And again, he's not going to be a 15, 17 sack guy like Trey, but I think he's going to be fine. And the more, as the season goes, people are going to settle down and quit calling him a bust. I think he's fine. And they picked him knowing that he was going to take a little time to develop.
Right. Yes.
Argue about whether that was the best move to make at that time. That's a different story.
Sam Laporta would look pretty good in a Bengals jersey.
Yes, very
Exactly.
good. in a Bengals jersey.
So where are we at with BJ Hill? What is he? What's his status?
He wasn't practicing tonight.
That's not good.
Well,
and what is his injury exactly?
It was a
It's a rib.
injury. Yeah,
Okay, rib,
injury.
okay.
And they thought it was worse, and Zach even said Monday it's better than expected.
That's
so
good.
I think on a short week it makes sense. It's if it's a team that you're not familiar with, then you probably want to be out there. But they know the Ravens. He can not practice tonight, and I don't know if he went through the walkthrough or not, but. I think he can play. It's going to be a pain tolerance thing, and maybe they limit his snaps a little bit. You got Chris Jenkins coming on. He played pretty well last week, and McKinley Jackson is playing better.
He has been. I'm kind of pleasantly surprised the way. And he's another one we talked about how quick his get off
for
is.
his size.
Yes.
He's got a quick first step. Now it's figuring out what to do with that,
right?
But and being in the right spot. But he at least has a skill set that you can build on, I think.
Yeah, and he's surprisingly quick for his size, but he's not Ravens quick.
No.
So I don't know how much you want him out there on the field, whereas BJ Hill gives you a little more. I think there was a play in the first Ravens game where he chased Lamar all the way to the sideline, and I know he did it in the Kansas City game against Mahomes because I think that's the play he got hurt on. But he is a guy that's got the lateral quickness, and I think there's a good chance that BJ could play just by the fact that they're not ruling him out. If you got an injury on Sunday and you're playing Thursday, a lot of times you kind of know, that's not going to work out.
So one thing I want to roll back to what you said before is and this is kind of what I started this last week. Like it's a long shot, but the Bengals can get back in this. They had to win Sunday, which they did. Turn around and you beat Baltimore. You're 2-1 in the division, and then we talk about the second half of the season of the teams that they have to play. The schedule quote unquote gets easier. So it's been easy all year, but with that being said, if they can come out and play consistently like they did, because Sunday was the first game that both sides of the ball was consistent. We had good defense. We had good offense. That was the first time I saw everything work together. If that team could show up the next couple of Sundays, we could go on a roll here that this team is done. Joe gets better in November, and they play better. So this, again, if they beat the Ravens, they got a shot of turning this thing around, I think.
Yeah, I said it on our podcast this morning. If they beat the Ravens, they're going to the playoffs.
There you go.
It just feels – they would be 5-5, and you've got that confidence.
Jay's more confident than I am. See,
well, I said if they beat them, I didn't say they're going to beat them, but if they beat them, they're going to the playoffs.
Yeah.
And it's just these road primetime games in the division. It's for whatever reason with this division, it's just brutal on the road teams, and they don't win. So that would be a huge lift to go into Baltimore. Especially after you feel like they should have won that first game. If he doesn't drop the snap. I mean, think about it. If Ryan Rico doesn't drop that snap, they have won 5 of their last 6. They're ahead of Baltimore in the standings. All the conversations are completely different right now. One play just changes the whole narrative.
Catch the damn ball, Ryan.
Yeah, and they led Baltimore before Burrow got hurt last year. They've played them
His
well.
last throw was a touchdown pass to Mixon.
Exactly.
Put them ahead with 5 minutes left.
They've played well there. The game where they screwed up on the goal line with the shovel pass and I can't remember what the
shovel pass.
The Stanley Morgan and
I was watching the fireworks at Disney World when that happened, and I'm watching on my phone, and it's just like shovel pass. I'm like, what the hell are they doing?
Bill Disney we're going shovel pass,
right?
Shovel pass.
My daughter's watching the fireworks and throwing Mickey Mouse ears.
And to their credit, I mean, Brian Callahan and Zach came out and said that was a mistake, and they ripped up their red zone plan after that game, and they went on a crazy run. It was like 17 of their next 18 red zone possessions they scored touchdowns on. So I think they've got a really good chance. I'm surprised that the point spread is as high as it is.
What is it right now?
It started at 6.5. It's the 6 was the last I saw.
Okay.
But yeah, if they win that game and get to 5-5, you got to feel really good about them making the playoffs. And really, we've talked about this on the podcast too, where the two big games left are, because even if they lose to Baltimore, you beat the Chargers, you beat the Broncos, you feel really good just based on what the rest of that schedule. Dallas has fallen off, right?
No.
Cleveland's trading guys away.
Titans aren't very
Pittsburgh, I think, is still kind of smoke and mirrors. Denver, they're playing better, but they're coming here. So it feels like they would have a really good shot to get to 9. And you've got these teams that are really good in the AFC, and then you got all these 2-win teams at the bottom. It's really like 9 teams vying for 7 spots. And so you beat the Broncos, you beat the Chargers, you got the tiebreaker on them, and you put yourself in a great spot. But you beat the Ravens, and you put yourself in an incredible spot. All of a sudden, you beat the Ravens on Thursday night. You're not just talking about playoffs. You're talking about a legit shot to win the division.
Yeah, you'd be 2-1.
Yeah.
Which I'm surprised at how late we played the division games. I mean, it's November. We played 2. That's
right.
it. It's crazy. But just to let everybody know, we're live down here at the Moerlein Lager House. We are down here each and every Tuesday. The show starts at 6, goes till 8. Happy hour is extended from 3 until 9 o'clock. What that means is $5 drafts, house wines, and well drinks, and $2 off appetizers. Also, it is Prime Rib Tuesday. That looks delicious. So come on down, get you some delicious prime rib for $29.95. Greg's enjoying some right now. It's delicious. So I recommend the prime rib. So come on down. We're down here each and every Tuesday. We're having a great time.
You know what I recommend?
Every
Short
time.
rib grilled
Short
cheese.
rib.
I had a room
He
with him.
literally loves. He didn't get it today, but he gets a short rib grilled cheese almost every
About
time.
half the time. I've switched it up. I had burgers.
99.999.1%.
They're good.
They are good. There's not really anything down here that's bad, to be honest. I mean, I think all of it's good. I've had a lot of it, and I've enjoyed it too. So, all right. So, with that being said, and I like it that you're saying if they win, that they're making the playoffs, and that's kind of what I've been saying. And after the loss against the Eagles, trust me, last week everybody's like, "You're crazy, Ice. You're got the orange colored sunglasses." This, I'm like, I'm not saying it's going to happen. I said it could happen, and this team is talented enough to do that. That's where it's so. This seems so mind-numbingly frustrating of how good this season could have been, should have been, of all the other, like the Chiefs game we could have won, the freaking Ravens game we could have won. Hell, the Patriots should have beat that one. That's what's been so mind-numbingly frustrating about this, and that's where I think that's what we're seeing from Joe this week. Because I've seen a lot of people are like, "Oh, Joe's done with Zach. Joe doesn't be anything with Zach." I think Joe is so singular focused on we got to win these next 2 games to have a shot to get back into this, and it's a short week. This is the most focused and outspoken I think I've seen Joe ever.
Yeah, and angry. I mean, he was in a different mood after the game, and we asked him about it today, and the shots of him on the sideline, being pissed off. And
I'm okay with that.
He was asked if he had seen the memes, and he said he hadn't, and he said, "Did I?" They had shots of me looking. It's like, yeah, they did, and he said, "I've got to do a better job of controlling that." So it wasn't an overt action to try to spur anything from his teammates. It's just what he was feeling. He felt, yes, they were playing well, but they did not have a good third quarter.
They left stuff on the field.
They left a lot on the field.
Joe wants perfection.
He took a shot on a play that should have been a touchdown because of a protection error.
Yeah.
They had a free runner coming. If he has not even a half a second longer to throw that ball, he hits Jamar and he's gone for a touchdown.
That was Williams missing the call, wasn't it? That was when Volson was that the one when Volson?
That was Volson was doing this
and 41 and then 5 pointing to himself and free run, and he goes out to chip the end and lets free runner come right between. It
was like they initially had it right, and then they changed the call, and the free runner came in, and it was Robert Spillane, and he hit Burrow. He took a pretty big shot, and he threw the ball behind Jamar, and not just an incompletion, it was third down. They got to get off the field, and So there was a lot of things. I know that Jermaine Burton situation wasn't sitting well with Joe Burrow
that was
either.
one of
and-
the
Yeah,
You see, Burton, it was after one of the touchdowns, and he's dancing in obviously in street clothes
Yes.
in front of Joe, and Joe just has this scowl on his face. And then you see him sitting next to Joe, and Joe says something. He just kind of gets up and just walks the other way.
think they had
It's
a couple of
hilarious.
G's.
Yeah.
And I showed it to my wife. I was like, look how funny this is. And she said, look at the score. It's 41-17. The
That's not
kid's
the-
allowed
yeah.
to be
That's not-
dancing. And
that one you're at.
No,
the
you don't
night
know.
before.
Yes.
And then 12 hours later, you're at Hard Rock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At the
And
slots.
one thing
Come on,
that I always want to point out, because everybody calls me a Zach Taylor apologist, but Zach Taylor, some people say that he's not a disciplinarian. He sat him down, and they needed Burton last week because T wasn't playing, and he's like, "No, you're not gonna show up for this stuff. You're not playing."
Yeah.
To me, that sets a tone. Like, dude, you have this one shot
Mhm.
to quote Eminem, get everything you ever wanted. You got to take advantage of it, and hopefully this is a wake up call for Burton.
Yeah, I mean, it should be. You don't know if it will be or not. It's not as though this was an isolated incident.
Right.
This guy has these kind of red flags in his past, and you would hope that this is a wake up call. And the reactions kind of ran the gamut. You had Mike Hilton basically saying nobody's going to baby you. Time to grow up,
Yeah.
kid. And then Sam Hubbard saying, we care about him, the individual. I'm going to be here, and if he needs anything, I'm here for him. And it's you don't want to just blast him and have him go into a shell and then be worthless. But you also you don't want to look like you're excusing the behavior.
It's almost like you want someone to light into him, let him know this is unacceptable. But then someone like, dude, come live in my basement. I'm going to get your ass up, get to practice. Like I'm not letting you screw up.
Yeah.
No one's raising their hand for that.
Right, I know.
Yes, that's an ideal situation, but
Right.
nobody's bringing that guy.
It would have to be someone in the
live
receiver
with him.
room, and those guys,
But the good thing is that Zach Taylor was the bad guy. Put his foot down. You're not playing.
Yeah,
And that's the thing, and that's where I don't think Zach gets credit for that, because everyone thinks he's a big old pushover, and he's really not.
and I mean that it's not to discount the decision, but it was a kind of a no brainer. Like there's no way.
Yeah,
no,
but
matter.
it would have been a terrible look if he did play.
Yeah, it would.
But in the past, they've done that before. Marvin Lewis has done that before for a player that they need that day because they don't have T. Higgins. The Bengals have done that in the past and played a guy.
Yeah, I remember Zach's first year here, and Mark Walton, the 4th round running back they drafted from Miami, had a gun violation in the offseason, and they cut him, and everybody's like, "Oh, this is different than Marvin."
Right, exactly.
So he has that in his background, and he's not a screamer or a yeller, but he will lay down the law if you step outside of it, and that's what happened Saturday.
Exactly. Daniel, you got something?
Nope, I'm all
Nope,
good
he
right
just
now.
said-
Yep,
just
I'm
chilling.
all good. Yep.
Well, we keep talking. And you just said just, I always try to get you back in.
Let me ask this: if the Bengals win and they're 5-5, is it a different 5-5 than if they beat the Patriots and lost this game?
Yes.
And that's I mean the
Yes.
record is the same. It's going to be a close game.
They
Because
should have whooped the Patriots' ass.
Well, right. And everyone fell on the excuse. They're bad. They're always bad in a week. Well, that's not an excuse. Patriots are a terrible team, and they just laid an egg. Does it feel different if they're 5-4 going into this game and lose versus 4-5 and come out and win?
Absolutely, because you're talking about being 1-2 in the division
Yeah.
instead of 2-1. You're talking about losing 2 out of 3 instead of what would this if they win this one, you would be they'd be 5 out of 7 that they won.
Yeah.
So you've just got the whole momentum part of it. Winning a game in prime time on the road in the division would be. And remember last year they were 0-5 in the division in games that mattered.
Right.
That's been a big focus this year, and they lose the first one in just crazy fashion. And so beating Cleveland was a big deal, even though Cleveland didn't have much of an offense.
Cleveland sucks.
Just to get that division win and get that off the schneid with that. And so I math, yes, 5-5 is 5-5, but realistically, just from the momentum and the confidence standpoint, it would be totally different to be 5-5 with a win against the Ravens as opposed to 5-5 with a win against the Patriots and getting swept by the Ravens.
Yeah, I just can't get a feel for this team because it's been such a weird year. I feel like they played so poorly, and they are this just so close to being a 500 team and being right back in the playoff.
This goes being over 500.
Right, or they're a couple plays away from being 2-7. And being right, there with the Browns.
That's what's
It's hard to put a finger on. Yeah, Burrow's playing the best ball I think he's played
Yeah.
consistently, since he came into the league. I mean, he's making throws, he's making plays, he's looking like the LSU Burrow, and you're not supposed to look that way against an NFL defense. But it's just, I don't know. Like, am I odd in feeling that way? That I can't put a finger on the pulse. Like,
I don't think you're odd. That's been the thing for me. People are like, "What's wrong with this team?" Going, I don't know.
There's no consistency.
That's they are the most. They are the most thing they're consistent at is being inconsistent. Like I said, last Sunday was the first game that both sides of the ball, in my opinion, showed up.
Special teams too.
Rico
punted great.
Yeah, that was the most complete game we've had all year, and it's November, and it's taken that long to get there. And that's honestly, people keep like, well, it's this, what's that? No, they're not playing good at no aspect of it. It's always all right. They fix the offense, then the defense sucks, and then they fix the defense, the offense, and then the special team sucks. It's been something every single week, and that's the first week they got it together. And hopefully, it's a good thing that's happening now. They're moving forward. We'll see. I don't know.
I mean, sometimes it's every quarter that it changes where the offense will have a great start and the defense is terrible, and then it flips. And so that is the key, is getting that consistency. And I think you know what you're going to get with the offense for the most part. Yeah, it wasn't a great performance against the Eagles, but the variance isn't as great with the offense. The defense is all over the board, and that's what has to change. And Lou didn't forget how to coach, and he didn't forget how to scheme up other teams. This is a player issue, and part of it is on the coaches too, because if you're talking about young guys that are not developing, well, that's partially on the players, and that's partially on the coaching too. They got to get these guys up and ready to play, but you kind of see it coming. You see Osai making some strides. We saw Jordan Battle last week play the same number of snaps as Von Bell. And I brought this up to Lou today, and he didn't want to really get into it, but everybody's talking about this is the 1 year anniversary. It was a Thursday night last year in Baltimore when Joe Burrow injured his wrist, and they're going back, and the league did this to him. And if you remember, it's the 1 year anniversary of that's when Jordan Battle took over as the starting safety. Nick Scott was on. They got a 12-minute on the field penalty. Nick Scott was the reason for it. Lou Anarumo lit it into on the sideline. They put Jordan Battle in the rest of the game, and Jordan Battle started every game the rest of the season. And he would have started this year if they didn't go out and sign Von Bell and Geno Stone. And you're seeing Von's a little slower, and they brought him here to be the traffic cop and to get everybody on the same page. And I think the communication part of it and the recognition and the understanding of the defense is getting to where it needs to be, and now it's time to turn it over to the younger, faster guy. Jordan Battle came in overweight. He's worked back down to playing shape. He's playing better. Still has his lapses, but he's playing a lot better. And I think that Thursday night we could see him move ahead of Von Bell and play a lot more than Von does.
And it's also the 1 year anniversary of the Ravens fans. It's chanting F Joe Burrow after the postseason.
Yeah.
Does for fans? I remember that. That just pisses me off. The Bengals, do they remember any of that, or have they said anything about that, or is that still
I don't know. I don't know if it sticks with them. I don't know. You legitimately don't hear that kind of stuff when you're on the field, and maybe it was on social media, so I'm sure it brought to their attention. But you're also talking about 60,000 people in the stadium, and 2,000 could do that and make it sound loud. And I don't know. And now that I'm thinking about it too, wasn't that is the 1 year anniversary of the Logan Wilson hip drop that broke Mark Andrews' leg?
Same game.
And he was taking all kinds of heat from it. And Mark Andrews had to step in and say, no, that was a perfectly legal tackle. There's nothing wrong with that.
Also, the NFL sent the video that showed, this wouldn't have been flagged.
Right. And, Logan's getting death threats to his family from Ravens fans.
That's just crazy right there. Over a tackle. I mean, and I'm a crazy football fan, but I'm not gonna do that. Let's roll back to the devastating news. I feel terrible about this. Eric All tore his ACL again in the same freaking knee. Yeah. And my concern was with him. It was everybody was injuries, And I was like, in my head, I'm like, I hope we don't have another Ty Eifert, which he was just a ruler of the jungle. But Ty Eifert was a great tight end, could never stay healthy. Were you able to talk to Eric All? Where's his head at, or anything like that today?
No, I didn't see him in the locker room today. He was asked after the game how he was doing, and he said he's good mentally. So you knew that was before they announced what it was. You kind of knew when you saw non-contact, the way he went down. We had a feeling it was going to be the ACL again. It's brutal. You know, a guy that it's about, again, we're talking 1 year anniversaries. It was about 1 year ago when he tore that ACL at Iowa. It was like the last game in October, I think it was. And so he fought his way back. He got back earlier. Not only got back earlier than they expected, but picked up the offense earlier than they expected.
He was tight end one. He was tight end one, I think.
Yeah. I mean, they built this whole transformation into being a 12 offense around him because he can do so much. And that is a concern now that he's out. You don't have another tight end who's a two-way threat like he is. But the good thing is it's not that they've been doing the same thing forever and now you lose a key piece. Now what do we do? This is a case where they're probably going to go back to running more 11, and they're very comfortable doing that. They were one of the leading 11 personnel teams in the league since Zach got here. So it's not as though they're going into foreign territory. And Dan Pitcher said it yesterday too. He's like, we're not going to throw that away. We're not going to throw away the 12 package. We're still going to lean into it. It's going to have to be different. You're going to have to use Drew Sample in some more creative ways, but it's awful for Eric All, and it's really bad for the Bengals offense too, because a couple of weeks ago, Jamar Chase was asked about the key to the offense, and he said it's been Eric All. He said he's opened everything up because he does give them that two-way threat that they have not had in forever at tight end.
Because he's the only tight end on the roster that you don't know what he's going to do because he can block.
Right.
So I mean, three-tool tight end.
Yes.
We saw what happened when they tried to use Mike Gesicki to block. I can't remember who it was. A few weeks ago, they had him try to chip.
Never do that again.
Who was that? They had him.
Mike Gesicki trying to block was not very good.
I don't remember that play, but
it was a few weeks ago, and it was going up against the All-Pro.
It was against the Giants, and that was not on Mike Gesicki. That was Brian Burns, the defensive end, and he jumped because the tackle was pulling. I think Orlando was pulling.
Yeah.
So Gesicki was left on an island, and Brian Burns guessed right, and he cut inside, and he ran right behind. And the Bengals coaches said there's not a tight end in the league that's making that block on that guy in that situation. So that was – it looked bad, but it was not all on Mike Gesicki.
That being said, is there a tight end that you've seen with hands as strong as Mike Gesicki?
Oh, that one last week, that one-handed catch last week was ridiculous.
Well, I mean, there was just a simple play. It was 3rd and 3, I think, and he runs right to the sticks. Burrow hits him, and like the I don't know if it was a linebacker or a safety draped all over him, and he just boxes him out and catches the ball with his hands right in front. Full hands catch, never uses his body. His hands are so good and so strong that it's just a weapon that I hope they don't. I'm hoping he's still able to be utilized in creative ways with them having to figure out.
Well, they did last week with all out. That was the thing. It seemed like Gesicki stepped up, or I'll say stepped up, but they used him more with all being out.
I mean, especially with T out, I'd use him almost as the big slot.
Yeah, that's just it. You can be in 12 personnel, and you've got Drew Sample and Mike Gesicki out there, and really it's like you're at 11 because Gesicki's a receiver. He's going to be in the slot. Yeah. He's not going to actually be the tight end.
And Drew Sample caught a touchdown last week too. I mean, don't disrespect the tight end god, Drew Sample. Okay,
a scramble drive, scramble drill touchdown. It was a very heads-up play by Drew, and he's a smart player.
I can't believe he caught that because that was kind of thrown across. Sample was kind of leaking to his left with his back to the thing, and he threw it to his right, and he made a nice catch. So.
And Gesicki, what you were saying with the hands, if you remember his first touchdown, the way he kind of cartwheeled through the end zone, and you can see the ball bobbling sometimes when a player does that. And you go back to, I can't remember what game it was. They thought he had it. It might have been New England. He thought he had a touchdown, and then they did it on replay, and they saw the ball bobbled a little, and that really aided him because he does have good hands, and he thinks he should be vice gripping that ball down. But it was a big game for him, and it was a little dressed up because that 47-yarder at the end was kind of a
wide open.
Well-designed play, though. That was a very well-designed play, faking the screen, and they absolutely bid on it because they ran one back for a pick six. On
they ran a very similar play in San Francisco last year with the fake screen. It was at the end to kind of clinch the game.
Yeah,
and one thing that was cool watching Burrow is seeing him move around and make plays, and that's to me that's when he puts his cape on, turns into Jackpot Joey. He does things that normal quarterbacks can't do, and that's when he's in the zone. And it's November. November, for some reason, he starts cooking more than he does in the first 2 months. Is that you got the stats? I'm sure.
Well, I mean, you think about it. 2020, he gets hurt in November and he's out for the year. Last year, he gets hurt in November, he's out for the year.
Right.
But when he does,
he gets to play.
Finish. That's just who he is. You see things, you learn things, you process, and that's his superpower. And so, yeah, it makes sense that the further you get into the season, you've basically seen every way that teams want to attack you because of Jamar and because of T, and you can react. And so, yeah, it's. I think it's kind of the same in games too. It's why we see them struggle early in games because he's kind of sorting it out, and they rarely come out in attack mode. It's more kind of a feeling out type of mode. And if they're going to get a touchdown, it's going to be a 17-play drive, a 13-play drive. They're not going to just punch you with a 1 or 2 play explosive to get that first touchdown. And so you think about his first 4 touchdowns Sunday were all scramble drills.
Yes,
and that's hard to do. I mean, you have to have great vision to be able to make those plays work in the red zone. And you're running around. I umpired when I was in college, and
right.
they told don't make a call on the run because your eyes are bouncing. You don't see things the way you're supposed to. And he's out there running around with 300-pound men wanting to rip his head off, and he's still processing everything he's seeing and knowing where guys are going to go and where the best spot to throw the ball is. And it's another one of those superpowers that he has.
It's still directing traffic, I think, on the sample.
Yeah,
yes. I don't know if he was pointing to Drew or whoever, but motioning somebody to get,
it worked.
So, yeah, exactly.
So where are the Bengals at on Yoshi? He hasn't had too good of games last couple of weeks. Because we're in if T doesn't play, Burton doesn't play, he's got to start making some plays. Is he having that much of a hard time getting open now? That's what it comes down to? That's what it looks like to me.
Yeah, I think that's it. He's struggling to get separation. He's terrific in the scramble drills. That's why what he has 4 touchdowns and 15 catches. I mean, he's on the same page with Joe when it comes to that. And he's had some other big plays in scramble drills that haven't resulted in touchdowns. He knows the offense. He knows where he's supposed to be. He knows the routes. He knows everything he needs to know. Very bright guy. But, he was a 6th-round pick. And there's a reason for that. And he came out of the Ivy League, and he worked in the offseason. Him and Chase Brown both went down and worked out with a receiver coach in Atlanta to really kind of work on their technique as receivers. You've seen it pay off big time for Chase Brown, but Chase Brown's got a little more athleticism.
Yeah, he's a little quicker too.
And even Andre's had some drops on plays, and that's going to erode a little bit with the trust with Joe Burrow, and then you're not getting open all the time.
And that's the thing. He's got to make those catches. He's got to make those tough catches.
Yeah,
because he's not going to get the separation.
Yeah,
that
you're only going to get so many targets.
Yeah, that's why he's got to step up and make those. So hopefully that happens this week. We'll see. Do you have in your gut feeling Thursday night? I'm not asking you to make a prediction or anything. But your gut feeling, do you think the Bengals actually have a shot of pulling this off Thursday?
Yeah, I think this is going to be a tight game. I think it's going to look a lot like the last game. I think it's going to be a shootout. I think there's going to be a lot of points. I think it's going to be close. Possibly the team with the ball last is going to win it. The Ravens are really good, but they've proven fallible in some spots, and they're coming off kind of an easy laugher against the Broncos. And I think the Bengals can do enough to stay close in this game, or even get a lead early and have the Ravens playing from behind and try to hold them off at the end.
Because I think the Ravens would struggle at that, to be honest, of trying to come back. If we get up by like 2 touchdowns or something, I think
worked a few weeks ago.
Huh?
They worked well a few weeks ago.
Well, yeah, we threw an interception to them too. That kind of changed the whole momentum.
Their offense is an absolute machine right now. You want to get up by a couple scores and stay ahead because they're going to keep scoring.
Oh yeah,
they're running the ball at will. Lamar has never been better throwing the ball, in my estimation, playing in front of a home crowd.
The biggest thing too for this contest, you can't let Zay Flowers get lost like he did in the first.
Yes, absolutely not.
Zay Flowers has been fantastic for Baltimore.
Make him dink and dunk, and I think that's where you'll be able to make Lamar make a mistake, because he's able to find guys with his mobility and with his arm. If you let someone free, he's going to find him. He's got that absolute flickable wrist.
The thing with Zay Flowers too is he has track speed.
Yeah.
That people forget about, that made him one of the top wide receivers coming out of the what was it 22 draft that he
Yeah.
came out
They
in.
finally hit on a high
They-
draft pick for a
They
receiver.
finally hit on him, but outside of that, they now have Derrick Henry, Lamar Jackson in the
Yeah.
run game.
That's got
It
Deontay
gives
Johnson,
them
who's a
another
really
weapon.
good
Mark
route runner.
Andrews all of a sudden
Right,
is
Mark
becoming a
Andrews.
factor. He was a non-factor.
Non-factor for the
early
first,
in the
4
season,
weeks.
yeah.
Isaiah Likely is a hell of a tight end too.
Yeah, he was listed as a non-participant yesterday.
Was he? Okay.
I haven't seen today's injury report, so I don't
I know.
know what his status is.
Lamar's a little hobbled too. He's
but John Harbaugh
he's going
said
to play,
he's playing.
but
yeah.
it's more of just something if he's a little slower, maybe he's going to escape the pocket a little less and exploit you there. Which
Yeah,
any
sack him a couple times, make him even more uncomfortable.
Exactly.
And
Sounds good to me.
Yeah.
All right. With that being said, I will let you go. Thank you, Jay, for showing up. I
Oh,
appreciate
yeah,
it,
yeah.
man. Make sure you get something to eat, something to drink here, and we'll have to have you down here again. We are like, give it up for Jay Morrison, please. Everybody in the house. There's so many people in here. Thanks, Jay. Oh, but actually, real quick, plug some stuff before I let you go.
What's that?
Plug some stuff before I let you go.
Plug some stuff before I go. Okay, so all of my content is at bengalstalk.com. I'm with Sports Illustrated and James Rapine. The Growler podcast with Paul Daner Jr. We do one on Tuesday. We do one on Thursday. We do one right after the games on Saturday. We have an episode coming out tomorrow with a very special guest who Bengal fans know very well, and he was terrific. So you're going to want to watch that one tomorrow.
Is it Jim Ozarski?
No, it is not Jim Ozarski. It is he has very close ties to the Bengals organization. He has very close ties to the Amazon broadcast tomorrow night.
Okay.
Andrew Whitworth.
I can't say who it is. You will find out tomorrow.
Hey, see my detective work there. All right, Jay, thank you very much for coming on.
All right, thanks, guys.
No problem. All right, boys, you got any last thoughts or anything here you want to put up before we get the heck out of here?
I mean, we are officially in MLB offseason. Hot Stove is not really lit yet.
No, not
GM meetings. I mean, free agency is open. It's
the Reds need to do
can
something.
go out and sign Juan Soto. Give him 10 years.
I'm down for
$1
that.
billion.
Let's do it.
No, that's not going to happen.
I think it's great.
Yeah.
I'm on both screens. So I'm just going to go like this.
Much better.
That's not very nice at all.
I'm not here because I'm nice. Outside of that, this is a fun time right now. I mean, Bengals have a huge game.
Yes.
Bearcats football, Bearcats basketball. We've got Hot Stove. It's fun time.
The cycle to start.
Cincinnati
FC.
sports are back. FCC's in the playoff too.
Yep.
with
Yeah.
They got
the
playoff game
games,
Saturday.
It's almost 80 degrees outside and
I know,
first week of
ridiculous.
November, which is really messed up, but I'll handle it. Better than 8 degrees.
Neil, tell everybody where they can find you and all your articles at.
Yeah, so you guys can find me at either thefrontofficenews.com or cincinnati.rivals.com. Either one you look up, it's going to take you to the same website. And then you can find me. I co-host the Bearcat Blitz podcast with Russ Heltman. And then I also have the latest season of the Bearcat Tip-Off Talk podcast with Alex Meacham, JT Smith, and myself. We just released our season preview yesterday. We're going to have a couple more episodes in the near future. We're also doing a nice little interview series that we'll be finishing up here soon and the final works of that. So overall, you'll be able to find it there.
Comment there.
I did know that. I knew there was some Reds news that I totally forgot about. Votto was offered a job by some unidentified role in the Reds organization. Which,
By Nick Kroll.
Yeah, by Kroll. And
On MLB Network, he said it.
yeah, and the Reds shit the bed with him at the end of the year last year. I don't know if that was David Bell's surprise. Now he's gone. Now he's back in the organization. I don't know.
Well, is he actually back?
But he's welcome back.
Yeah, welcome back.
It-
Yeah.
It was clear that the Reds, or at least the personnel on field, didn't want him around at the end of the year last year. So hopefully, I don't know. Maybe
Joey Votto should be in the organization doing something.
maybe he's going to be the bus driver and janitorial, so
Hopefully
we can
somebody
bring
with
back
hitting.
Joey Mappo.
Hitting might be a good thing.
Whatever he wants to do, that guy's fantastic.
We'll see. All right, you guys can check me and Joe out. We'll be live this Thursday right before the game. That'd be interesting. So, Joe, Neil, appreciate it, guys. And I want to thank all my lovely sponsors, especially the Moerlein Lager House. Like I said, we come down here each and every Tuesday live at 6 going to 8. Happy hours from 3 to 9. Come on down, $5 drafts, well drinks, and $2 off appetizers, and you can have the delicious prime rib. I know it's delicious. I've had it before. $29.95 each and every Tuesday. And then come on down on Sunday or Monday or Thursday, whatever time the Bengals are playing that week for the Mercedes-Benz of Fort Mitchell. Moerlein Lager House, the pregame experience. It is the best deal on the banks. You get two of the greatest words in the English language. It is open bar. Also, a beautiful food spread, only for $75. You cannot beat that. So check it out. Go to Moerlein Lager House, all their social media platforms, order your tickets, and you can check it out on mine. Also, a special thanks to all the sponsors here. We got Priority Lawn Care and Landscaping. I know you don't need to cut grass right now, but hey, you need some snow removal, go check out Priority Lawn and Land Care. Also, Millions Cafe. I'll be there this Friday at 6:30 for the very first live show. Join me there in Harrison, the comedian. Also, Midwest Best Barbecue, Meyer Windows and Doors, and Hail Mary's your ticket to the game. Other than that, you guys have a great day, and I will see you tomorrow. We will not be at Newport and Levy. They did the show Monday, so I'll be doing my regular show from the Ice Cave. Other than that, that's just sports, baby. See ya!